What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to a Tuesday edition of House Divided. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That man in blue is Chad Hastings. Going to be with you for like the next 3 hours. We got a firecracker today, guys. Just go ahead, hit that thumbs up button, smash it. Notifications, subscriptions to the channel. I'm watching you guys. Come on now. It's going to be a good day today. We're going to be talking a lot about Quinn Ewers. Probably didn't talk enough about that yesterday, and now the Quinn Ewers discussion is kind of a national story. We'll dig in just a second. All the way in. I don't know why I said the word all three times, but you know,
all the way.
It's like I'm almost like a DJ there for a second. We will take your chats in the Specs chat. We'll take your super chats. Too broke to pay attention? We'll be nice to you. You give us $1. We'll kiss your ass. That's the kind of whores that we are when
Guaranteed.
we get to talking about super chats and liking money. Speaking of money, the man who was money this week with one of, well, the biggest scoops in college football this year in breaking the Jimbo Fisher fired at A&M story. Billy Luchi is going to join us at 1:20 today from Tex Ags. It's been a couple of weeks since we had Billy on. Chad, last week I reached out to Billy and he just ghosted me. And I didn't think anything of it at the time. I just thought, Billy's busy. It happens. I ghost people and don't think about it. But Billy's usually like super quick to get back. We got these guys that we communicate with. It's like, oh, are we going to have him on the show today? I don't know. Like, let me send him a message. He'll get back to me in like 5 minutes. And if he doesn't, then that probably means he's busy, right?
Yep.
That's kind of the way I was thinking about it with Billy. So I circled back yesterday. I was like, hey, oh, come on. I thought I blocked your number.
Could be Billy right there. Is that Billy? Updated? No?
I don't know who it is. It says Max Lind. I don't know who the hell that is, but I know I don't.
That means there's a max amount of money the Aggies might have to lend a new coach.
Maybe it was the Aggies reaching out to me to see if I wanted to contribute. But no, got in touch with when Billy didn't get – and so when I asked Billy to come on the show yesterday and then today, he got back to me like lickety-split. And so in retrospect, I wonder if, Chad, he just knew these guys want to call me up and talk about Jimbo, and the Jimbo stuff's going down. And so sometimes you have to go media blackout for just a little bit because the timing just isn't good. Us having him on Thursday, maybe he had an idea that this would be coming down on Sunday. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Billy beyond the obvious reasons. But I kind of want to get into when he hit send on the story, it changes your day and your life a little bit, right? I wonder if you knew, all right, clear the calendar, boys. All day today and tomorrow, people are going to want me on as a guest. So I'm looking forward to talking to Billy at 1:20. I know you are as well, Chad. It's a chance for you, Aggie to Aggie, to find out the things that you want to know in the search for a new coach as it hits still the infancy stage.
Yeah, and I'd also love to know when he knew that this was going down in terms of what I've been thinking about today, Ketch, is was there a moment for him? Was there a big crossroads, Charlie Strong loses at Kansas kind of moment? Or did it just gradually come along for Jimbo? That's what I've been trying to kind of process in my head today, because you could argue that it hasn't been, there's parts of it that certainly weren't awful, but was there a clear moment where he thought, oh, good Lord, this is really headed the wrong way, and maybe started to hear that? So really interested in talking to him. Who does he think might fit? Who does he think, if there might not be anybody better to ask about in 2023 with what's been built up and created and what's about to happen in a very, very modern SEC. What does he think A&M needs? What's the fit? That F word that gets used a lot with these discussions, Ketch. And I think it applies to both sides of House Divided. That's what we talk about when Texas needs a new coach.
We talked about it with Urban Meyer yesterday, that there was a level of control that for them was a bad fit.
So what you'd love as a fan base is fit and football. You'll give up one if you can get the other. Bama gave up fit for football, and Saban gave him a bucket load of it, and he still is. In a way, you could say a Texas fan might say that too in a couple of years. If they look you in the eye and go, I don't know if Sark's the greatest fit, but damn, the football's good. That's what you hope. You at least get the football part. Problem with the Aggies' decisions is they haven't gotten the football. Jimbo felt like it could be both. Jimbo had that feel at the beginning of, oh, you know what? It might fit that part, and it might be the football part. Wasn't enough of both. So now, where does Billy feel like that fits in? We'll talk to him at 1:20. We'll get more into that discussion at 12:40, where there have been some guys to say no. But I'm also interested in this Quinn Ewers discussion that comes up. Now, before we get there, Ketch, I would like to maybe throw out, I'd say credit, but it's not really credit, but I'd like to just kind of, on behalf of myself, maybe you and the rest of the Dallas Cowboys fans out there, the old saying is game recognizes game. Not exactly the way I feel today. It's more like Circus recognizes Circus. To the Buffalo Bills, I mean, sometimes, Jeff Ketchum, you say nobody loses like the Dallas Cowboys, and that's true. But come on, man.
The Bills are close.
Come on now.
The Bills are close.
Now think about it. You talk. There was the Romo finish and all those different things. There was a missed field goal at home.
They have Scott Norwood. They do.
Missed field goal at home. 12 men on the field. You would have won the game. 12 men on the field. But Ketch, not just a normal 12 men on the field. The 12th guy doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. This 12th guy.
Have you guys counted me? I'm here.
Ketch, the 12th guy was like a safety. He was the safety at the back. Like a dude that Pete Kwiatkowski had ordered to cover a 20-point lead. My man was just hanging way back. That's how they lost that game. So, bravo, Buffalo. You are the JV Circus. You're not the Circus, but damn it, you remind us of us. Well played.
It really is true. Those two teams can lose games like nobody else's business.
If the rest of y'all don't want to watch Cowboys at Bills on December, I think it's the 11th, y'all are crazy. Y'all are absolutely crazy, because it's going to be, hey, a tar truck and a feather truck are going to run into each other out on the highway, and I can take you to a safe distance. Do you want to see it? You should. You should.
Josh and Dak on the field together at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Josh and Dak doing the Spider-Man meme, just pointing at, oh, I know you. Yeah, I know you too.
Got some super chat questions, guys. Before we get to the super chats, we're going to jump into the Quinn Ewers dialogue and the discussion. We talked about it yesterday. I first reported on Sunday night that the general expectations for Quinn Ewers with regards to 2024 is that he's now strongly leaning towards coming back. Nothing official. He's going to wait until the end of the season to make a final decision. If he turns into Vince Young, USC Rose Bowl performance levels over the course of the next 4 or 5 games, hey, things could change.
That'll do it.
Things could change if, like, suddenly he's the it guy in college football. But barring that, the expectations are that he will return. There's nothing new on this story. There have been some of my competitors have jumped in and been like 90%.
Whoa.
And it's like, well, same thing I'm reporting. He's expected to come back. You're leaving yourself a little bit of wiggle room. But sure, how about 91.5%? I raise you. And we can do that all the way to 100. Pete Thamel. I don't want to say Thalen. I want to turn him into a combination of Adam Thielen and Pete Thamel.
Pete Thalen, great possession receiver. Coach's kid. He's like Pete a coach Thamel, on the field.
Thamel reported today, like, contrary. I have to go back and look at it, but he intimated that people were reporting that it's a done deal, and nobody has said that. It's, anticipated, it's leaning in that direction. The winds are strongly blowing that way. There are like a lot of metaphors and words used to say, we ain't saying 100%. That's happened. So he went out and said, no final decision has been made. A decision will be made after the season. And it's like, well, yeah, Thamel, like, you're really good at your job, but that's what we've already been reporting since Sunday. So the thing we didn't do yesterday, Chad, was really dig into all of the implications of what it means for Quinn Ewers to return in 2024 beyond it's Texas's first season in the SEC and the difference between a young, inexperienced quarterback being broken into next year's schedule and being able to bring back a guy that would be going into his third season as a starter. Like, beyond going into kind of the basics, we didn't dive into it and talk about Malik and Arch and all of the little things that it will impact. So what I wanted to do was ask you, is there a side of this Ewers discussion that you think we need to start with first? If listening to all of this, there's a question that immediately comes to mind. What do you think?
I think if I'm a Texas fan, or if I've got like my granddad, my uncle, my aunt, somebody in the family, that's older than I am, that they don't follow it as closely, I think they only want to know one thing. I think the bottom line for them is, whatever Quinn Ewers decides to do, does it mess with the Arch Manning timeline, or could it cost Texas Arch Manning? If that answer's no, I think they'll live with whatever it means. But I think that'd be top of mind for me as a Texas fan. Not trying to dog Malik out here, but I think that's what Texas fans, that's what I've seen on the chat. That's what I've seen in conversations online. It's about, hey, if Quinn comes back, that doesn't mess with Arch, right? That's not going to put Arch into a transfer portal, right? I think that's the big one.
Yeah, and I think I've sensed zero concern from anybody in Burnt Orange, and there does seem to be an overabundance. And we did dabble in this a little bit yesterday because we mentioned that whoever the primary backup quarterback is next season, whether it be Malik or whether it be Arch, you almost have to anticipate that they will get a couple of starts at some point during the season, because the starting quarterback at Texas gets hurt a lot and has for a long time. And, whether it was Sam Ehlinger or Bouchel or David Ash or Garrett Gilbert, like, there have been just a lot of guys that have a hard time like surviving an entire season. What is the deal with my phone? It's the third call in 13 minutes. And my phone's not even near me. I think I was in my car. Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
I've
been wondering why you didn't just turn it down, but now that makes sense. If you're not near it, you can't physically turn it down.
It might be like if it's in the house, it's in the kitchen, like 50 feet away from me.
Your phone is haunting you from another room.
The moment, there it is again.
They need to talk to you, Ketch.
But it's 4 different numbers.
Ketch, do you not understand that the factory warranty on something you've purchased is about to run out? They need to speak to you.
About to go put that thing on airplane mode. And if like God himself calls, he ain't getting through.
God does want to know about Quinn Ewers, though.
He does. Yeah. God knows. He's God, right? You'd think, unless he's a busy man.
He is.
Or a woman.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there for all the women out there who don't think I'm misogynistic because I referred to man as a god. I'm completely open-minded to the idea that it could be a woman. But I would also say that it's much more likely that as messed up as the world is, that a guy's on the clock right now.
I'm
just saying.
Feels like man's work.
Thank you, Chad.
You're welcome.
It wasn't really like, I wasn't like going for that wasn't waka waka waka.
That felt like it could lead into.
It could have been a bit, but like,
yeah,
it was like a glib remark. Right now, the Manning family seems to be patient, really patient, maybe more patient than any five-star quarterback with this kind of reputation in the history of like college football. I know that I did the article a couple of months ago where we were kind of having this same discussion about when does Arch get antsy? When does he want to get on the field? You know, the thing about Arch, of all of the quarterbacks in the history of the modern era of recruiting, so basically kind of like since 2000, the only five-star quarterback that's ever been ranked either number 1, number 2, or number 3 in the country, the guy that waited the most amount of time to get on the field as a starting quarterback, was actually Vince Young, who basically waited a year and a half. And then in 2003, after the OU game, he takes the starting quarterback job away from our guy, Chance, who, man, that must have been tough for him last night, watching Monday Night Football and doing the show.
It was. Actually, at the very end of the show, it was looking up because Josh Allen had just gone into the end zone and scored that touchdown. So I thought we were getting done with the show so he could watch a win. Didn't happen that way.
Dude, I felt the same way about that game as I did Texas OU. I was like, there's a lot of time on the clock.
A lot of time. Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, the way the game's played.
I certainly didn't think game over.
No.
But when you look at the Mannings, Vince waited 1.5 years to get on the field. And out of about 20 different examples, that's the longest anybody. Usually these guys are starting quarterbacks by the beginning of year 2.
Right.
But it seems like Arch and his family might be okay with the idea of, okay, well, we've got to wait another year. It's another year to develop. They don't want Arch rushed. So if that means, by the way, I just got like a Facebook notification.
From the same person trying to call you?
No, but every time I get a call, it's like in the right-hand corner of my screen over here. So in the corner of my eye, it popped up again. And I was like, not another call. No, just notifications. I got to turn everything off.
You're so popular.
But I think he's going – I get the sense that the family's okay right now, that they're not looking at Ewers coming back as a call to panic. I don't have the sense from anybody on the UT side of things, and I would include Anwar sourcing on this as well. We haven't sensed that anybody's like, oh, crap, what does this do for Arch? Mm-hmm. I think Texas in the moment is okay. Even Archie, Arch's granddaddy, referenced in an interview in Sports Illustrated on Saturday, hey, Eli really didn't start till his 3rd year. And, you know, we're looking at the long game here and not the short game. So I don't know. We'll see. I think there's a bigger question about what this might do to Malik Murphy, because when Anwar hit me and all of us earlier this summer with the dream scenario for Steve Sarkisian, Ewers is a badass this year, goes to the NFL first-round draft pick. Malik takes over in 2024, and in 1 year emerges as first-round draft pick, NFL badass, hits the NFL draft, and then the very next year, Arch can take over, and hey, everybody's a winner, and everybody develops and gets to be a first-round draft pick, and everybody gets to start. I think it's, first of all, it's not a final decision yet. But if he does come back, I think it clearly gives Malik Murphy a lot to think about, who will be going into his 3rd season next year. And A, is probably wanting to get his chance to start. B, will have opportunities to do so. And C, he knows that the Manning kid is going to get his chance at some point.
Right.
They did not bring Arch Manning to Texas for that guy to just never play. Yeah. So you hate to talk about guys in the portal, and, you know, everybody would like Malik to stay. This certainly isn't some sort of intended foot on the backside to shove him out of the back door. He is ahead of Arch right now, and would presumably be the leader for the backup position, you would think, going into next spring. But I think it becomes tricky for Malik. Everybody will ask about Arch, and I think Arch, for now, at least based on what we can sense, I think everybody's okay. Nobody is there's no concern that they're going to lose Arch. I think there's a little bit of a shoulder shrug with nothing in this life comes for free, and there probably will be a cost if Quinn Ewers comes back for the 2024 season, like we're now in kind of sensing that he's going to. I think the guy that would probably have the biggest impact on it is probably Malik Murphy.
Well, and obviously there's a natural reaction, I guess, at any school nowadays with the transfer portal, that whoever your 1, 2, and 3 are, if your 1 was thought to maybe be going pro and your 1's coming back, everybody would ask the question, well, then what are the chances that your 1, 2, and 3 all come back? I think any fan base would talk about, more than likely the backup might want to look somewhere else, or maybe it's the third string guy that would want to look somewhere else. And then when we add the ingredients of the level of 5-star talent we're talking about, add the Texas element into it, and then obviously adding the Manning element into it, it just gets real complex. So yeah, the focus immediately would go to number 6. It's about if Quinn's going to stay, because that'd be my second layer thing if I'm a Texas fan. If Quinn goes, or if Quinn stays, does that affect Arch in any way? But then secondly, if Quinn stays, what are the chances that all 3 of those guys are back for 2024? Because that feels low to me.
It is probably low, but I think the other thing that it becomes real obvious is if that's the trade-off that you have to make, so that in 2024, you have a third-year starter who's been very good this season. And I think everybody understands he's not great yet. But if you look around college football and you say, okay, let's take the Caleb Williams out of the discussion. If we look at the other guys in college football who are really tearing it up, you're looking at a Bo Nix, you're looking at a Michael Penix Jr., you're looking at guys that have been in college football for 4, 5, 6 seasons. And it matters. I'll always point back to the end of Chris Sims's career in the final game against LSU. Texas fans finally, I think, saw the guy they dreamed of. They're like, that guy, why not that guy that we just saw obliterate Nick Saban's LSU team? Why can't that guy have been the quarterback the whole time that he's been hyped to be Chris Sims? And I think by the end of his senior year, year 4, because he didn't get a red shirt, you finally started to see Chris Sims turn into a guy that, like a player that was going to start in the NFL before his body fell apart. I think, that may be what Ewers is. He's a guy that last year was almost a throwaway year. It's all about development and seasoning and doing things for the first time. This year, you can see a guy that's experienced and has been a real quality starter. I think he's either first or second in the Big 12 in passing efficiency. It's not the greatest year in the history of the Big 12 at the quarterback position, but first and second's better than 5th, 6th, 8th, 10th. We've seen a lot of those over the years with Texas quarterbacks since Texas has been really good. The best thing for Texas football next year is of the options of Quinn, Malik, or Arch. There's without question, there's just no doubt about it, that returning a guy that would be a 3-year starting quarterback would be better than turning the keys over to some guys that got to learn on the fly. And eventually those guys will have to learn on the fly, but I think you want to try to maximize as much out of having Quinn Ewers on your roster as possible. So it's a win-win for Texas, even if it means that you might have to lose Malik Murphy as a byproduct of that. If he says, you know what, I got to start playing some ball. I think a lot of people would get that. I think as long as Arch, and you said it, hey, if my grandparents or your grandparents or if uncles and aunts and brothers and sisters are like, yeah, how does that impact Arch? As long as the answer doesn't look like it impacts him very much, I think everybody realizes it's a win. I think you'd have to ask yourself, what are we doing if the answer was you could lose Malik and Arch? Then I think you might go, whoa. Are we winning? What is being proposed is going to happen. Do we come out ahead in this? But I think as things currently stand, it's a big win for Texas football.
House divided on a Tuesday. You want to clean up some super chats here, Ketch? We got a lot rolling in.
We do. Why don't we? I got them right here. We'll go to James first, and we'll just knock them out in order. James says, "Guys, I figured it out. Sark is a fan of the show. He knows. He clearly got tired of Chad dogging his one-score record. Thus, he is now 7-11 instead of 4-11. Thank you very much, Chad Hastings.
Glad to help. You got to get these things rolling. Got to get them going. If you're going to be in 18 of them in 3 years, might as well win more, right? 3 in a row.
Well, what this means is, if they win a conference championship, they'll probably give Craig Way like a Big 12 championship ring because he's radio guy, just like Bill Schoening gets rings every time the Spurs win a championship. You got to get a ring.
Boom. There it is. That'd be my dad's dream, right? Me getting a ring, a championship ring for that. By the way, Ketch, just a quick comparison.
Did you get a ring once traveling with one of the Texas teams? Maybe Texas women's basketball? I'm trying to remember.
No, I did not get it. No, I've not gotten a ring. I would have loved to have gotten a ring from that team, but I did not get a ring from that.
Bastards, you should have given the guy a ring.
There's no reason to be, and we don't need to go there. No,
well, I'm just saying you'd be happier with a ring, and why wouldn't they want to make you happy? George says, did y'all hear that Art Briles got fired after the game? If he did, how much did you laugh at him?
What? When is this show taking place? Is it 2020? What?
George, do us a solid.
Help me out, George.
You met someone other than Art, right?
Did you say Kent? You mean Kendall? Did you? I don't know.
Did he mean Kendall or did he mean not Art Briles at all? I don't know. George, we need your help.
Help us, George.
We're confused and we want to answer your question, but we don't know what decade we're in.
Thank you for the $4.99.
The Google Scholar says, isn't Dan Quinn the obvious answer for Aggie?
I don't consider that the obvious answer. I pointed out yesterday they have gone 4 straight on the offensive side after a big-time defensive guy in RC. I don't know if Dan Quinn even wants to be a head coach again, much less at the college level. So I'm not sure how serious that chat is.
Dan Quinn takes me as one of these guys that's a pro guy.
That's what he feels like to me.
He ain't ever, it feels like he'd rather just be a position coach in the NFL rather than be the king in a different sport.
Yeah, let me look up. I'm going to look it up, Ketch. Has he ever been a college coach? I don't even remember. College he's been in the pros since 2001. Everything is pro after that.
He's a lifer.
Nope. My bad. He was at Florida. 2011, 2012, he went to Florida, then back to the pros. So just a blip and then back.
So maybe, but like for me, the thing is Dan Quinn can have a pro head job if he wants it.
Yes.
He's turning down head coaching jobs in the NFL, or at least the opportunity to interview for them because he wants to be in Dallas, and Jerry's paying him like half the national debt to be the defensive coordinator. They're paying him at a high rate, but
yes,
I thought Dan Quinn's a great football coach. I just don't know that the head coach at A&M is the answer for him. Jay Lee says, Brooks' situation has been making me sick. Just shows how important it is for these kids to take advantage of the educational opportunities at UT. Okay.
It does suck. It's a terrible thing, obviously.
I don't really have a response to anything about taking care of the educational opportunities at UT. Yeah, of course. You'd hope all of these guys would be able to be in a position to do that. some do that better than others.
I just think the great news right now, Ketch, and Jay, to your super chat, is the ability for a lot of these guys to now bounce back medically in a way that just wasn't the case when Ketch and I were growing up watching football, and it certainly wasn't the case before that, where you had guys like Gale Sayers and others that just the whole career stopped. Like 8 years in, 9 years in, a knee injury, and it's over. Now you have the ability to come back. So I'm interested to see, like, what's the interest going to be from him? You know he'll rehab like a beast. You know he'll try to bounce back as much as possible. How much love will the NFL give him from the film they've already seen? That's what we got to find out when we get to, off season.
I mean, I think John Harris, based on the conversations that we had on Friday, would tell us it just comes down to the teams that love him.
Right.
He felt like there are definitely going to be a number of teams that would have him ranked as the number one running back on the draft board. Like, what does that mean when these teams are done doing their evaluations, assuming the rehab's going well, assuming that, he looks on pace to be back in 2024 or that he's going to get back to 100%. If a team's got a second round grade on him and they get to the third round and the only guy with a second round grade still left on the board is Brooks.
Oh.
Then, it's like, all right, well, and usually you'll see that with a team that's got multiple picks. It like scares me to death that it'll be a team like the Eagles, one of these teams that just
Niners.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, we've got 3 third-round picks. We'll take a guy that we thought was the number one running back in the draft, and we'll just use one of our picks. And then those teams will usually say, and we'll redshirt him if we have to. Like, it'll be an extra second-round pick for us the next year. So I think the decision that Brooks still has in front of him now turns into the most interesting of every player on the Texas roster, because the one thing I don't know is that I don't know that he can come back and really help his stock a ton.
Right. And because you're at a position where we know the hourglass is running and whatever you want to talk about, that clock doesn't stop. So the more carries he puts on that body in college, that's obviously carries that could be done at the pros. And like you said, if you found value, if you made him a value pick and he produces for you, then that second, not that the first contract wouldn't be nice, second contract could be really nice for him.
Yeah. And I mentioned it yesterday, the first round, the first pick in the 4th round last year still got basically $1 million signing bonus.
Yeah.
It's still signed for millions, like $5 million.
Right.
So, it is. I think after the injury initially occurs, you think the world is ending. And I think the NFL has a lot of examples that shows, no, if you prove value for somebody, they're going to take you whether you're injured or not because of what the perceived value they're getting at wherever they're picking in the draft. So I don't know what he's going to do, but he does have options. And among those, Jay, is hanging back and like maybe graduating if he's not already there. So it's not all bad. He's got, a bad situation has just occurred, but he does have some good options. I mean, if the worst thing is he comes back and gets his degree and gets healthy and tries to do it all over again, that's not terrible either. But if he wants to go get paid, become a millionaire, start the clock on getting to a second contract, that's not out of reach for him either. Mm-hmm. Tom G in the super chat. What up, Tom? Glad to hear from you here on this Tuesday. Assuming Quinn Ewers comes back, which I would love to see, what percentage that Arch, you guys love percentages. Mm-hmm. What percentage, and you'll never hold it against me no matter what.
Never.
Percentage that Arch stays at Texas. There's a part of me, having seen one of my competitors put 90% on a projection, there's part of me that wants to see Quinn go pro just to see if those people have to live with 90% for the rest of their lives.
99. Going 99.
But I raised it to 91.5. I'm tired of outlets talking about him leaving if Quinn stays. I mean, right now, Tom, I don't know how to handicap it, but I've not even heard 1% of worry that Arch is anywhere even close to thinking about leaving Texas. So, as we discussed just a little bit ago, the consensus right now opinion is that Arch is going to stay at Texas. So And again, if he does, there would be a good chance that he would start multiple games next year if he's the number 2 backup quarterback, based on everything that recent history tells us about the Texas starting quarterback position. Mark Ruiz, also in the super chat, says, Quinn comes back, you get a guaranteed NC next year. No, you don't, Mark.
That's not how it works, Mark. But
that is not how that works.
It'd be cool if it did.
Everybody would do it at that point. Caleb Williams, well, you know what? If I come back, guaranteed NC.
That is such a great Texas fan ego moment. Those things come out of Texas fans and Cowboy fans and other fan bases like
it's
monsters.
A very Cowboys fan. It feels.
It really was. That was it. Quinn comes back next year, guaranteed natty. You got
glory hole all over the place.
Gotta fight those urges. Got to fight those urges.
Mark,
thank you.
Don't get mad at us because we laugh, but I don't think you can say guaranteed NC. But what it does, it changes the conversation from rebuilding year to maybe anything is possible year.
Sure.
And that includes we got to see what the roster looks like come spring, because I think there's going to be a lot of turnover outside of the quarterback position. But, it changes the scope of the entire season, and it makes playing for the highest things possible, especially in a 12 playoff team year.
Yep.
Now with Quinn coming back, you can absolutely say it will be disappointing not to make the playoffs, Chad. Whereas if it was still 4 teams and I said, Quinn coming back, it would be a major disappointment if Texas isn't in the final 4 teams. It's like, well, that feels a little presumptuous. That's hard to do. It's going to be hard to do this year. And they're 9-1.
Right.
First year in the SEC, they might lose a game, guys. So
the other thing is with next year, Ketch, unlike this year where Texas fans are obviously getting into their own schedule and their own conference mates a little bit, man, next year's schedule starts the showcase games for Texas.
Yeah.
They will have showcase games throughout their schedule in a way that they just have not had in the Big 12.
By the way, we get the schedule, I think, in a couple of, 3 weeks or so. It's supposed to be
the actual order of everything.
The early, we're supposed to get the schedule at some point, I think in early December.
Nice. Can't wait.
I can't wait either. I want to see what it looks like.
I know. Can't wait. But we know, just knowing the opponents to know what it is. Just off the top of my head, Ketch, they host both cocktail party teams. They go to A&M. And they play LSU?
Look at that schedule real quick.
And we know, and you've already mentioned they go to Michigan, for God's sakes. There's a monstrous group of teams. We know they play OU, A&M. Is it LSU?
Hold on. I want to make sure I get it right. So I'm pulling it up. The 2024 Texas schedule.
I stared at it the other day.
You're at Michigan.
Yeah.
Right? That's on September 7th.
Yep.
Then you get UTSA. Then you get La Monroe. And then the following games on the schedule include Oklahoma Cotton Bowl.
There's one.
At Arkansas. Florida at home.
There's
Georgia
one.
at home.
There's
Kentucky
one.
at home.
No.
Mississippi State at home.
No.
And then at A&M and at Vanderbilt.
There's 5 of them. Okay. There's 5 games that way. Look at this year's schedule and tell me there's 5 showcase games.
There's 5 games that could end up on game day real easily.
Right. Those are 5 monsters. And then depending on what those other teams look like, it could change. So my bad there. They don't play LSU. That's the one I had wrong. But that's another big part of next year. So if he continues to progress, if this offense continues to progress and Quinn is back and looks like a badass next year, I mean, just think of all those lead ups, Ketch, to those kind of games. Georgia at Texas, Florida at Texas, Texas at the Big House. And then you're leading up to Texas at Texas A&M for the first time since Justin Tucker. Are you kidding me? It's going to be crazy.
It is going to be crazy. And yes, you'd like to have experience. You don't want to break in a quarterback amidst all of that.
No, you don't want to be breaking in a quarterback while the Aggies are breaking in a coach.
By the way, I wonder what the first SEC game is going to be.
That's a
It's
good
not going to be
question.
Oklahoma. They'll keep that in October. But the thing is, that first SEC game is the week before Oklahoma.
It should be a cocktail party team. If you really want to make it a show, you should do what they did with the Aggies. Because if I'm not mistaken, the Aggies' first ever SEC game was Florida at Kyle Field. I think
that's what I'm thinking. I think that's going to be it. I think it might be. I think they made a showcase. They're not going to do like at Vandy.
Nope.
I think first game in the SEC. Come on.
I think they're going to make it. They've gone out of their way to make the schedule about a couple different things. They're taking the best of the best and they're sending them to Texas and OU.
It could even be Georgia. I think it's either Florida or Georgia.
Here's what, if they wanted to really big boy it, Ketch, here's what they'd do. They'd send Georgia to Austin on the same day they send Alabama to Oklahoma. But they won't do that. They'll separate those out because that's their big moments. I mean, big moments. They have a ton of them. But those are two they really want to show off. But I'd start with the Florida game in Austin, save Georgia at Austin, maybe for later. Maybe that's later in the year. I don't know. I'm not sure how to play it because I could also make the argument for if you went Georgia, can you imagine that if Texas hosted Georgia and then had to go to the OU game? Right,
that's what I'm saying. Well, look, so you're not even looking at the totality of it. There's a chance that in a 5-week window at the start of next season, that they're at Michigan, at home to either Florida or Georgia, and then play Oklahoma. And then who knows? They can even dump like at Arkansas the week after you again. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I'm gonna have to remind Texas fans what I had to remind myself and all my Aggie brothers and sisters in 2012. Ketch, we asked for this. We asked for this, like on purpose. We asked to be a part of this thing that is the SEC. Those first couple schedules hit you like a brick to the face.
The thing is, well, and this is the other thing that Texas fans are going to have to completely recalibrate their brains over. They suffered a loss this year, and they literally wanted to jump off of whatever the most local bridge was to them.
Yep.
Took them 2 weeks to get over Oklahoma. Nothing had changed, really.
Right.
And yet it felt like the world had ended. And this will be a year where you anything short of a 0 in the loss column could mean you stay home from the playoff. But next year, if you go 10-2 in the SEC, you're going to be in the 12-team playoff.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't need to worry about being out until you lose 3.
9-3 means it might be like 40-60.
Yeah, you're still messing at 9-3. But yeah, 4 you got to be out. I think maybe even SEC teams are out at 4. But yeah, you can lose a couple and still feel like, remember where LSU was a few weeks ago before they lost that third one?
Exactly.
That still felt like a dangerous animal. And next year, it will be a dangerous animal if you have a 2-loss team in the middle of the year that's getting some momentum back.
So I don't even know how. We were just talking about the 2024 schedule in general. Did we get, wow, okay. I blinked and we got more super chats.
We did. By the way, Mark, thank you for that $1.99. We might have laughed initially, but that created a good conversation. Thank you.
Isn't that what it's all about? Tracy says, can we please have 1 or 2 more false starts so we can kick a field goal instead of going for it on 4th down, asking for a friend?
It does feel like when Sark is forced to the moment, doesn't it? When it gets to 4th and 6 from like the 12, he seems to always want the field goal.
So that is becoming a popular joke. I had somebody, I can't remember if it was in the super chat or somebody said it on Orange Bloods, but asked me if yesterday when he was doing the press conference, whether or not he was still mad at who was it that got DJ Campbell got the penalty, right? Or it was Christian Jones. It was like, do you still think he's mad at Christian Jones? I think that is that's funny. Texas boy jumps into the super chat and says, Ewers comes back, we get a 1st round bye.
Top 4 teams get a 1st round bye in the expanded playoff.
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibilities, Texas boy, but I wouldn't say it's anywhere near a slam dunk.
It's just also without knowing what it feels like, man. Nobody knows what not even Nick Saban knows what a 16-team SEC is going to feel like. Remember, if they go now next year, it's still 8 conference games too. We don't know where that's going to be long term. There's still a little protection with the 8 conference games, but still they're going to be forced to play each other more than they have in the past. It's kind of hard to know what that's going to look like.
I don't remember. So what was it that Mark said?
Mark was saying about the guaranteed national championship.
No,
Mark, I think.
Mark said Mark had the one about that we didn't understand the question.
Oh, okay.
Back next year, you get a guaranteed national championship. You lose Arch and Malik was the rest of the question.
Oh, I see. Okay. He's saying he's making it almost like a buy or sell type.
Yeah.
If you can win the natty and lose Arch and Malik in the process, do you do that? If the devil comes to make the deal with you, do you make the deal?
Yes.
So you push that button, right? Right? Don't you have to look at Arch and Cooper and go, sorry, fellas, bam.
Yeah.
I think you do.
You'd give up a national championship guaranteed because you want to try to win one in a couple of years later with a different guy? No.
Ooh, no. If you get, as a fan, if you give them a guaranteed national championship and you fill in the blank with whatever you want at quarterback,
Chad and I have to play the next year. You do it.
They hit that button. Hey, guaranteed national championship for your college football team, but there's a trained dog playing quarterback. I don't care.
It's like, what happened? I don't know. There's not even a button there anymore. That you pushed it so much, it disintegrated.
He pushed it through the table. Thank you for that super chat. Oh my God. Harish, $5 says, let's say Quinn stays. Are there any domino effects that could flip to stay that are currently on the roster? Oh, that's another interesting way to look at it. Guys that might be gone otherwise, but that may want to come back with Quinn if he does.
I wonder about Ja'Tavion Sanders.
That was the first one in my head.
But
Mitchell's gone, right?
Does anything change for Sanders if he comes back next year? I don't know that Steve Sarkisian loves the tight end. You know, he's never really had a great tight end in a lot of his career in college. And so the tight end usage was always not very good.
Yeah, he didn't show it off at Bama much.
He didn't. And now that he's at Texas, you know, he's got a great tight end that we don't think gets enough volume. What would Ja'Tavion Sanders have to do next year to raise his draft stock?
Well, I mean, I guess would the simple argument be not be in a draft class with Bowers?
Well, but is that why he either would or wouldn't stay? I don't think Bowers is Sanders. Like,
I don't know.
Like Bowers is going to be a top 15 NFL draft pick. What is?
I'm just saying, if he knew he could be that next wave, the next season, and be the same thing.
Yeah, but he's not as freaky as Bowers is. He's just not. And I mean, Bowers is like a physical marvel.
But is there anybody in that next group that's freakier than Sanders? I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know that impacts his draft status. No. He's going to get drafted based on who he is. Now, if it was a tight end market that's similar to the quarterback market next year, where it's like, well, he's 6th or 7th on the draft board, then maybe. But I don't think this year's draft class at the tight end position there's Bowers, and then Sanders might be next.
Yeah.
He hasn't had this season that he wants. I just wonder how many guys are going to look at what happened to Jonathan Brooks. So here are the two forces at play here, Harris. You've got come back and play another year with Ewers, or Jonathan Brooks just ripped his knee 2 or 3 games before he was set to probably go pro. You know, which lesson, which dynamic influences your decision more than the other. I mean, maybe there's a guy or two that will stick around in part because Ewers is sticking around, but these dudes got like dreams that are theirs, that are personal, that don't have anything to do with Quinn Ewers. I think it remains to be seen. I think the domino effect, Harris, is that in a week or two, you're going to start seeing guys put their names into the portal. And if there's a position in college football where the portal offers more guarantees than any other position, it's wide receiver. Guys think of a guy like Jimmy Horn, who was at South Florida, I think, last year, but had a real big season. He's gone to like Colorado, big season. You think about Florida State and the receiver transfers they've had. You think about Adonai Mitchell, obviously at Texas. I mean, receiver is the position that guys, Jordan Addison the year before that, it is a position where we've seen guys make moves, and it's not like, oh, that guy ended up sucking. It's like normally these guys go to their new schools, and as long as the quarterback position is in a good place, they have big years. Having Ewers in place and saying, we've got a guy that's one of the best in college football, and he might be the top quarterback on the draft board, or at least he'll compete for it in 2025. Come play here. You've got the quarterback, and you've got a coach that's going to give you a platform to potentially be an NFL first-round draft pick. I think that's the big domino, more so than keeping a guy. It may mean the difference between getting a guy and not getting a guy. So I think that also might be one of the reasons why it's kind of coming out now, because guys are going to start. We talked about Evan Stewart from Texas A&M. We have no idea. Honestly, I don't know that Evan Stewart knows what the hell he's going to do beyond like 2:00 this afternoon. Mm-hmm. Evan Stewart is a free thinker, freewheeling kid who does things on his terms. And he's been rumored to be going to the portal almost since the moment he signed with Texas A&M. And yet he's still there. But if he says Jimbo's the last straw and I'm out of here, I think what this Ewers news does for guys that are about to be in the portal, no doubt about it, it gives them something to think about with Texas, because playing at Texas with Ewers is different next year than playing with Arch Manning. One is a risk, and the other one is very low risk. And it's kind of as simple as that. Chad, we got Oscar.
What up, Oscar? $9.99, 40 acres, our insider over there, checking it all out. What's up, guys? Just realized Chad gets our fan base really well. Well, thank you. Even as an Aggie, because he roots for the Dallas Cowboys. But I digress. Ewers coming back makes me happy as hell. Very exciting in the SEC.
Oscar, how'd you do on that test?
Let us know, Oscar. Yeah, what was it, a biochem?
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know how biochem went. And Oscar, I appreciate your compliment, and I do feel like those two. I call them the two circus tents for a reason, man. No, there's no greater shows in college and pro football to me than the Longhorns and the Longhorns and the Cowboys. And I do think the fan bases balance out sometimes and do have similar characteristics.
Well, there's definitely some crossover.
No doubt. Yeah. And God love the folks that are both. God love y'all that are both. Because as a Cowboys fan, I do not know if I could live with living and dying with both of them. It might exhaust me beyond.
Oh, yeah, because living as an Aggie and a Cowboys fan is an absolute walk in the park.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that's a joy, but it's just different. A little different.
I was going to say, just real quick, the 2001 Big 12 championship game were the games at Texas Stadium.
Yeah.
I've always said that one of the reasons why that got so bad is because that was in a pro building. You know, you were in front of fans who boo, who yell. You know, NFL fans are ruthless. And I've always wondered, so if Cowboy fans and Longhorn fans have a lot in common, Are Cowboy fans like the next level up from Longhorn fans? Or like maybe they're Texas fans, but who get down and dirty a little bit more?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's why the Cowboys are the ultimate circus to me. They out-circus the Longhorn thing just by a little bit. Nothing out-circuses the Cowboys for me. And yeah, that fan base is on that click up, that one click up. Because you know why? Because Cowboys fans, Ketch, they're the fans without the pageantry. The Longhorns get to talk about pageantry and the marching band and, oh, remember our days at school? Cowboys fans are just going to the games. It's different.
By the way, I'm going to try to get my buy or sell questions to Blake. I've almost got them ready to go. By the way, Oscar's letting us know 84. That's good. It's biochem.
Good job, Oscar. It's okay. Overall grade still good. Thanks for asking. No problem, Oscar.
Oscar, you don't have to. Oscar, I have a question for you. You do not have to give us money to answer it.
Yes.
I feel bad that I asked him for his grade, and he's paid us $5 to tell us.
Don't mess with Oscar's rhythm. I don't know what you're doing there. Just Oscar, whatever
Oscar,
you need to do.
Do what you want to do, but I want to know why you're taking biochem.
That's a good question.
Are you taking it because you like biochem and that's a major, at which point 84 is not great?
Yeah. Oscar, I need to know also, like, what percentage excitement do you feel for your overall education? And if you could express that in a super chat. For example, if you're 65% excited, can you get us a $65 super chat?
I was going to say $6.50, but $65 would be great, Chad. By the way, too broke to pay attention. Where are you today?
Too broke.
That is true. He did tell us he was too broke.
It is in the name, right? It's in the name.
Maybe I'm the one not paying attention. Chris says, Quince Young come back. SEC got nothing for us.
Ooh, careful, Chris. Careful. What's Brian Jones tell us all the time, Ketch? Don't taunt the alligator till you cross the river. Y'all don't even know what that river looks like. You have no clue. Like, easy. Calm down.
Oh, Quince Young, because once upon a time he was a running quarterback after he scored twice. Now he's Quince Young, even though
I see.
I'm not going to say it, but Chris,
careful.
Don't encourage him.
Yeah, careful. SEC got nothing for us.
The thing is, once Quince Young became Quince Young, he started to run a little bit more like he was Quince Young, and it stopped working altogether. It works better when teams think he's Quince when they think he's Quinn Ewers, and they just completely leave him uncovered. But if he becomes Quince Young, teams have to account for him, and it hasn't been great for Texas since teams started to make sure he was accounted for.
Thank you for those super chats. If you want to throw us something in, we appreciate it. The Specs chat is lively once again today, up over 450 folks. We do appreciate you. Like, subscribe, get your notifications, smash the like button. Take the button like the national championship button that someone chatted us earlier and just smash that thing. Sandman, sorry, y'all, I'm on vacay. I've been tipsy since 9 a.m. Sandman, do not apologize for that. Just make sure you're leaning into those chats. If you're drunk chatting today, then let's go. Let's get it done. Come on. Here's your answer from Oscar. I'm pre-med, and to put it this way, organic chemistry was much more enjoyable than biochem. I'm very excited with what I'm trying to do, Chad. Appreciate y'all. Thank you, Oscar. There it is. Here's your answer.
So he's going to be a doctor.
There you go. Pre-med.
Hey, if it makes you feel better, Oscar, I've never gone to the doctor and said, what'd you make on biochem? And then use the answer to dictate whether or not I go with that doctor or not. You just keep on cruising, my man. 84 in biochem ain't going to hurt nobody.
You know what, Ketch? If all of us knew deep down how many of our doctors got an 84 in biochem, might scare us.
Oh, man.
Might scare us a little bit.
Sure. Might. If you go into like one of those urgent cares,
yeah,
you know, and you go in there and you're like, hey, just out of curiosity, doc,
Curiosity.
What'd you make in biochem during your pre-med days? 72. Whoa!
Whoa, look out. Look out. Hey, real quick before we get towards buy or sell, I'll tell you one doctor that I know didn't get an 84 in biochem, and that's Dr. Slaughter over at Sinus and Snoring Specialist. They'll make sure you get to breathing better. Look, here's your bottom line. I am no longer keeping my wife up snoring. My wife is no longer keeping me up snoring. We're both sleeping better. The dog appreciates it. She sleeps right between us. She's out like a light as well. Everything is so much better because we're sleeping better. We're resting better. It just affects every part of your life. So if you're dealing with some of that stuff, get it taken care of. Sinus and Snoring Specialist can help you. That's your QR code right there. Bad allergies. I had them. They can test you for every allergy known to man. They can test you for 50 different allergies at once without needles and help you get a treatment that'll get rid of your allergies for good. They did it with me. Now I'm in another November and I don't have to worry about allergy stuff. It's fantastic. Sinus and Snoring Specialists feel clear, rested, and healthy. We appreciate everybody jumping in on that chat today. Coming up at 1:20, Billy Luchi, TexAgs.com. No better person to ask about this situation. He is the one that broke the story that Jimbo was out at A&M. Who's in? Who's he like? What idea has he heard that makes sense? What idea has he heard that's insane? We'll find out at 1:20 with Mr. Liucci. At the top of every 1 o'clock hour, we do a little buy or sell. Ketch, did you get them in? Are you going to go first today or you want to go second?
I'm going to go second. I have most of them written down, but
okay,
I got distracted.
It's okay. It happens. It happens. Let's go. Let's start with these Longhorns. Buy or sell number 1, Ketch. CJ Baxter carries against Iowa State. Over under 19 and a hook. You'll take the over.
Sell. As you started the question, I had 18 in my mind.
Right there. Okay. At least I picked the right number. Buy or sell number 2. Jaden Blue carries against Iowa State. Over under 8 and a hook. You'll take the over.
I'll sell. I've got 6 in my brain.
Okay. Fair enough. Buy or sell number.
Real quick.
Yep.
One of the reasons why they're going to have fewer snaps this week. This isn't probably going to be a 75 snap week for the offense.
Good point.
As Sark mentioned yesterday, they might get like 50-55 snaps. So I think it's the lower volume of plays that has me picking the under on those.
Fair enough. Buy or sell number 3, Ketch to the NFL. The Buffalo Bills won't make the playoffs.
Buy. Their schedule is rough down the stretch. Have you looked at it, Chad?
I have not directly looked at it.
Let me tell you what their final 7 games looks like.
I've heard a stretch that's awful.
They play the Jets next week at home.
All right, now we're good.
At Philly, bye week.
Okay.
At Kansas City,
damn. Home
against Dallas.
Yeah, that's tough.
At the I was about to say the Clippers, the Chargers. And then at home against New England. So, there's the 3-game stretch there.
Wait, I thought they ended with Miami. Is that not right?
Oh, you know what? I'm only looking at their fantasy schedule.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then whatever week 18 is. I'm sorry.
Okay. I think they go to Miami the last game. I want to say that's what I've heard. Wait, did you just tell me they're playing the Cowboys and Chargers back to back?
They go Jets at home, at Philly, bye week, at Chiefs, home against the Cowboys, at the Chargers, and then the Patriots at home, and then at Miami.
All right, I'm going to add a game. Y'all, if y'all don't want to watch the Bills play the Cowboys and the Bills play the Chargers, y'all hate entertainment. You just hate entertainment. I don't know what's going to happen in those 2 games, but watch. That's incredible. That's an incredible set.
So I don't, if they've got to get to 9, it's a tough schedule to find 4 more wins.
No, you're absolutely right. It's going to be tough. All right, buy or sell number 4, Ketch. The Houston Texans will make the playoffs.
Buy. In CJ Stroud, I trust. I don't think he's going to be MVP. That's the kind of thing that people have started to talk about a little bit, but I do think I saw some numbers. God, I wish I'd saved the tweet. Somebody had a power rankings or something that I was looking at last night. And someone had pointed out that Houston's record against teams in the top 20 of the power rankings was 5-2.
Interesting.
It means that they're beating good teams. They're not just beating the little sisters of the poor on their schedule. They're actually taking care of business and having winning results against some of the good teams on their schedule. And that has me thinking, as you asked that question, that, yeah, they will make the playoffs.
As of this moment, they would be the 7 seed. They would be in the playoffs. And finally, Ketch, buy or sell number 5. Of all the coaches the Aggies could hire, the name that would make Longhorn fans the most nervous is Urban Meyer.
Buy. That was the name in my head as you started to ask the question.
Yeah.
Boy, we're on the same page a lot. In that one segment of buy or sell,
how about that?
We had 3 of the 5 questions. We were really close or exact on each other.
Right on target. All right. Billy Luchi coming up at 1:20. We'll get in a little bit of A&M coaching talk maybe before that here after buy or sell. But first, Ketch has got his 5. What do you got, Ketch?
Buy or sell number 1. The McRib is back. You've had a McRib. Wasn't that bad. And in a pinch, you'd do one.
Yeah, that's a small buy. The last time I had it, honestly, it had a little bit too much of a plastic taste to me. I've had a McRib that's okay, but honestly, there are, to me, if you go to Sam's, Costco, one of those type places, there's a frozen version of that if you go and buy a big bag in bulk, I think you're getting better quality overall. I mean, if we're going to be honest about it. Just the last one I had was fishy, so it's got me a little antsy.
Fishy or plasticky?
It was plasticky. Yeah, it just had that plasticky taste. So I've never really rearranged my schedule around the McRib, but definitely not now. The last one's got me skittish.
Buy or sell number 2. Quinn comes back for another year. Malik transfer. Arch stays. And Texas fans forever spend eternity talking about what that 1 or 2 seasons with Malik Murphy would have looked like.
Buy. That feels like 2023, 24. Yeah. That feels like the natural progression of it. And that's what every fan base will deal with year in and year out. It's just their version of it.
Buy or sell number 3. I took this word for word. This is word for word off of a CBS News tweet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes confirms that he has worn the same pair of underwear to every single game of his NFL career. Quote, I mean, if we're on a hot streak, I can't wash them, end quote. Buy or sell, he's making that shit up. He's washed his draws, right?
Buy. He is making it up. While it may be the same brand, I don't believe it's actually been the same pair through the entire run because they've had losses. It's not like he's won every damn game he's started.
What does he mean by hot streak?
Yeah, right. Like, come on, dude. The fact that he put the word streak in there, he's working us. That's a work. We're in the middle of a bit when he put the word streak in it.
But
come on.
Buy or sell number 4. T'Vondre Sweat should be talked about in the same company, the same air, the same breath as Casey Hampton and Sean Rogers.
Sell. He's really good. He's not quite there, though. I'm going to be the old man who says that Hampton and Rogers are a little bit of a different discussion. So I'm going to sell. Sweat, I love you. I love you, 93, but I'm going to sell that.
Just as a reminder, Casey Hampton once led the Texas defense in tackles 2 years in a row. And in one of those years, Sean Rogers had 27 tackles for loss.
Sounds important.
I think T'Vondre's at like 8 tackles for loss.
Yeah.
And he's amazing.
He's having a monster year. Those two dudes, different.
It's amazing that they played together.
Different. Ketch,
They
you know how good
played
they were?
together at a time when Texas had a reputation for playing bad defense.
Yeah. Here's how good they were. Every one of their rivals knew who their D tackles were. That's how good they were. That's how you know you got a set of badass D tackles when all your rivals know their names, and every one of them did.
I wonder if Sean Rogers ever caught up to that guy from North Texas that cheap shotted him early in 2000 and injured him and basically made him – he was hurt that whole 2000.
Right.
I hope Sean Rogers got a piece of that dude at some point, just out of principle alone. All right, and finally, buy or sell number 5, Andre 3 Stacks, otherwise known as Andre 3000, is announced today that he's got a new album coming out on Friday. First album that he's put out in like 20 years.
Damn.
And it's nothing but Andre playing various flutes with no words for the entire album. Buy or sell. You'll listen to the Andre 3 Stacks flute album and give it a chance.
Hang on. Is the first part of that buy or sell real?
Yeah.
Then that's a sell.
What?
That is a sell. First of all, this Friday is the Dolly Parton release date. I've been looking forward to it. I got to dig into that Dolly Parton on Friday. So if you're going to put out an album on Friday to compete with Dolly Parton and one of the craziest ideas I've ever heard of, you're going to need to do something more than play the flute the whole time, Andre. Come on, dude.
It's not the flute. It's a bunch of flutes.
Oh, okay. So what? No. If Joe Satriani had a new album coming out on Friday where he played lots of stringed instruments, it still would be the same thing to me.
Hold on. I want to find you so one of the tracks on the album.
It'd be a little better because he's known for that. Andre, I have no idea if Andre can play a flute. How would I know that?
Well, here it is. So it's lots of woodwinds for the record.
Oh, Lord. Oh, well, then if there's a bassoon involved, I change my mind.
The name of the album is called New Blue Sun. And the first track on the album is called I Swear I Really Wanted to Make a Rap Album, but this is literally the way the wind blew me this time.
Dear God in heaven. The amount, here's what I'm happy about. Sometimes there's an album where I'm just happy for the artist. I'm happy for the amount of drugs he gets to do right now that puts him in that mind space to where he can make this album. Like, I'm so happy for him. It's probably going to be garbage, but I'm happy for him. Do you have any evidence, Ketch, that this man can play a woodwind instrument at any level?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
When has Andre ever picked up a woodwind? Was that part of an Outcast show I missed?
No, but I've read like over the years that he's into it.
Yeah, that's silly.
I had no idea that he was making a flute album, so I'm not trying to like pretend that I have some greater insight into, but maybe he's a little bit like Prince. He just plays a bunch of instruments.
It's just weird though. If you take that idea and extrapolate, that doesn't necessarily make it great. Like if Mick Jagger years ago had released a harmonica album, that's a dumb idea. I would have not cared. I'd be like, Mick, I know you can play the harmonica, but I don't need a whole album of it. What are you doing? Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. No, I'm not interested. I'm not saying I'll never listen to it, but I am certainly not going to focus on it on Friday. No way.
I'm looking at a tweet right now where one guy says, I'm calling it now. Andre 3000 is about to release my favorite all-flute album of the year.
Well, now that, yes, obviously. That's going to be true. Dude, by the way, do you think Lizzo has to give her score? Like, does she have to grade the album out of principle?
So according to Complex Music, I tell you what, I'm going to read you the 8 tracks on the album.
Okay, now I'm at least encouraged there are only 8, because I was going to tell me how many track numbers there are. If the number is over 20, we have a real big problem.
You need to just strap yourself in. Kids, earmuffs.
Here we go.
Parents, earmuffs for about 30 seconds.
Okay.
Track 1. I swear I really wanted to make a rap album, but this is literally the way the wind blew me this time. Not making that up. Track 2. Kids, earmuffs. The slang word pussy rolls off the tongue with far ease than the proper word vagina. Do you agree? Is the name of the song. Number 3, that night in Hawaii when I turned into a panther and started making these low register purring tones that I couldn't control. Shit was wild.
God, I love Andre.
Number 4, bipolar disorder's daughters wears a 3000 button down embroidered.
Wow.
Number 5, 93 till infinity and Beyonce.
That's so good.
Number 6, Gandhi, Dalai Lama, your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and John Wayne Gacy.
Wow. Well, he went all out for that title.
Number 7, ants to you, gods to who. And number 8, dreams once buried beneath the dungeon floor slowly sprout into undying gardens.
Again, I'm just happy that his chemical compounds are flying at that level right now. It is so great. And do you know how many people probably sat in that studio with him and tried to convince him that this was an awesome idea? No, man. No. Hey, I thought there was the right amount of oboe on that one, Andre. You're good, man. That's it. That's all we need. That's the only take we needed. Oh, my God.
I'm glad Billy hadn't showed up yet.
Good for him. Good for Andre.
Now Billy can show up and he doesn't have to hear me say,
yeah.
Oh, hold on. Billy just sent me a message. What does it say?
Uh-oh. Might have some things to do. He's trying to find a new coach over there.
No, he needs me to email it to Nick. So hold on.
All right. There we go. We'll get the email sent. While Ketch is doing that, let's remind you, this is House Divided on a Tuesday. Billy Luchi of TexAgs.com going to join us here in just a minute for the very latest. What's he hearing? What's been going on? How did the whole thing come about? He's the guy that broke the story about Jimbo being out at A&M. So we'll talk to him about that whole situation. Aggies willing to write some very large checks. We'll get into that a little more in the crap bag at 2. Plus, it is Turnover Tuesday at 2. If you're a Cowboys fan, I promise I'll make you smile in Turnover Tuesday today at 2 o'clock. Adam Gorney of Rivals, hoping to, have you got confirmation on Adam yet?
No. But to be fair, like he just no answered me.
Okay, I'm going to try to speak it into existence. We are hoping for Adam Gorney at 2:20 to talk recruiting. Texas gets the flip of the Florida guy, Mac, and then the discussion, obviously, and we'll ask Billy about this too, the Aggie commitment list for 24, what parts of it could be in danger. We'll get Billy's perspective on that because you Longhorn fans may want to know, and then we'll get the national rivals perspective from Adam, assuming we can get him on.
Oscar wants us to tell Liucci that the Ags suck, but his content is always pretty great, and I wish he covered my team instead.
Oh, thank you, Oscar. We'll pass that on to Liucci. He wishes Liucci covered the Longhorns. That's a weird comment. I don't think I've ever heard a Longhorn.
Well, is that like a dig at me?
No, that's not a dig at you.
Wish we had Liucci instead of Ketch on Orange Blood.
That's not what he said. Read that. He never said instead of Ketch. He just said, and we need to start with this. And when Billy's ready to roll, we got to start with that. That's a weird, like, would you take that as a compliment, Ketch, if an Aggie said, man, Ketch, I don't like Texas, but boy, your content's always great. I wish you covered my team. Would you take that as a compliment?
It depends. If I was coming on TexAgs Radio,
and
right before I went on TexAgs Radio to do an interview with Billy, somebody said, Ketch, the Longhorns suck, but your content is pretty great. Mm-hmm. Wish you covered my team instead. I don't know. It makes it sound like you're unhappy with your team coverage.
Man, I don't know. I didn't hear it that way. I think Oscar's just trying to give Billy a little love.
Okay. Well, let's bring Billy in. our Aggie news breaking savior, Mr. Luchi. Can you hear us?
Thank you, Oscar.
See that, Billy?
I got to get rid of this gum. Somebody will find this under the desk, but I don't even know the context. But thanks, Oscar.
Yeah, you take that as a compliment, right?
I kind of heard a little bit of it, and I probably would. I don't know that I would, unless if they said, "I'd love him covering it with y'all," then I would be like, oh,
Exactly.
But I don't think he meant it that way, Ketch. But I would probably take it the same way.
Wait a minute.
I'd probably ban his ass.
I think y'all are both reading that with very sensitive eyes and ears.
No,
I don't think that's how Oscar meant it. I think he's just trying to give you some love, Billy.
I agree. I think I know he was. I don't think it was a shot at Ketch either. I'm just joking, but like sometimes we get so used to like. I know it was a compliment to me, so Oscar's moved up my list of favorite Longhorns. He's climbing steadily, but I know if I was in Ketch's shoes, I'd be like, wait a second, wait, what?
What? I'm working hard. The thing is, Billy and I work hard. We're working hard for you. So you hit somebody else.
I've inadvertently lashed out at people before, whether it be on Twitter or on the site, where they're like, "Whoa, that was a compliment." You're like, "Oh, sorry."
All right, Ketch. Where do we start with Billy?
Well, I just wanted to let's start with what I said to him in direct message when I reached out to him this weekend. Congratulations, dude! Like that is the biggest story of the year, certainly on your beat, but I think even on a national level, maybe outside of whatever the hell this Michigan thing is, and there's something new on it every day. So I don't know what was breaking, but when I woke up Sunday morning and saw that, my first reaction was, got to make sure that's not like a Billy Luchi troll account.
Yeah.
Because I fall for that all the time. Right. And then second of all, it was like, whoa, okay. Like the world as we know it just changed. Yeah. And Billy's the one that kind of changed the world for us. And the Billy, the thing I wanted to ask you is when you hit send on that the first time, you're fully aware, like my life changes for 48 to 72 hours as I hit that send button, right?
Yeah, it's, you're so right. And here's the thing, Jeff. Think about walking around Kyle Field the night before during a fun night, everybody's smiling, coasting to a win, 100,000 people. It was just a fun night. It was for a team that was 5-4. It was like unusually joyful in there. There was a lot of energy. It was weird. It was almost like if a coach and the team knew it was the last. It reminded me of like, and Longhorns won't like hearing this. They're fine now because they're winning. But if I would have said this a couple of years ago, you'd be like, don't bring that up. But it reminded me of like when Fran got fired and the reins were off and Les Kenning called the game and Stephen McGee all of a sudden became this 350-yard passer instead of running the option 40 times. And they beat a much better Texas team with Colt McCoy. Like it reminded me of that, but no one knew prior. You would have thought everyone was told before. No one knew. And I'm walking around two things, knowing what's coming, but also worried too, also knowing like, how long can I sit on this? That this is my story. Like I've known about this, but I'm also trying to do right by all parties involved. And there's that kernel of you that you guys know this. You're like, this is a massive deal. Is this done, or is this 99% done? Have they agreed that this is happening, but somebody's going to get cold feet at the finish line? So it's this whole big juggling act. And I was sitting there, and I would never in a million years do this. And maybe some people in our profession, I would never. But I thought, I was watching College Game Day, and they're going on and on about Harbaugh. And I'm sitting there going, I know a way to get him off Harbaugh for a few for like attention, for like people that think it's all about, they go, whenever we break news, it's all about you. It's really not. If it was in that moment, but also that would be like, it'd be a great pop for TexAgs at that time, but it's just not how we get to where we're at doing these things, is by burning people or doing things the wrong way. But I did get a laugh. I was like, you know what? A&M's playing a 1-win Mississippi State. I can't even watch these shows right now because it's just like you watch them, but it's like the week earlier they're laughing at the Aggies on game day, and it's just like, man, this is just tough. But I was like sitting there going, I know how to get them to stop talking about Harbaugh for 2 minutes. I would never. But it did. You're right, though. You do know that, like, man, when I hit send on this, so Saturday night, I felt like, there was going to be a meeting. I got wind that there's going to be a meeting Sunday morning, and I'm going, okay, we've crossed the threshold now that Jimbo knows, or if he doesn't, he's just in complete denial. And I think he knew. In hindsight, I've found out that there were calls made kind of in the aftermath of that, after the game, finding out that there was a meeting Sunday. The first thing those guys are going to do is call their agent, and the word starts to spread. So I knew in the morning I was going to have to do a rare Sunday morning. I went to bed at 3:45, woke up at 6:45 to a text saying, hey, I could tell some of the people were sniffing around. I was like, I got to go with this. Yep. So I put it out at like 7:30.
Billy, obviously you're talking about knowing, some things ahead of time. The question that's been in my head today, before we get to kind of what happens next, is for you, is there a moment when you knew this was probably not going to work? Like, with Charlie Strong, it was that game at Kansas. So is it as easy to say like, well, Chad, it was App State? Or was it App State plus the rest of last year? Or is it just more complex than that? Like, before you officially found out there's a discussion going on and this is where it's headed, like, did you have a moment somewhere in the recent past where you'd go, you know what? I don't think this ends with a plaque that gets filled in with a number.
The plaque. Y'all, and here, okay.
Sorry, I had to do it.
No, I love, and by the way, receipts, like what the Longhorns are doing to me now, if they think they're bothering me, I'm loving it. Like, I'm reading it, laughing. People are funny. It's great. But to go with your question, a lot of what I'm saying, like, that people are digging up, Jimbo almost got A&M there. He came the closest. Now, people forget that he went, you can say COVID, whatever, but they had a good roster that year. They had a senior quarterback. They went 9-1, finished in the top 4 in the playoff. It had been a longer season. Their schedule is actually only getting easier. Ohio State, there's a good chance, would have lost. They didn't go to the playoff because Trevor Lawrence got COVID and Notre Dame beat Clemson. Like, that was a really good year that gets blown off, but it was a good year because he had a really good team. The following season, they lost a couple early, but then they beat Bama, number 1. They beat number 11, Auburn. They were favored at Ole Miss, and they lost that game in the fourth quarter. It got away from them on a 1st and goal to take the lead. They couldn't convert. 2 weeks later, they played a bad LSU team. They lost that game in the final 30 seconds to none other than Max Johnson. Yeah. That was his turning point. He was those two games away from going back-to-back New Year's Six. They were putting together the number 1 class. And by the way, imagine if they finished 10-2 on an 8-game winning streak to go to another. Maybe they get Harold Perkins. Probably. Maybe they get Kelvin Banks from Oregon and it's not Texas. Maybe they get the A&M legacy and it's not Texas that flips Terrence Brooks from Ohio State. But what does this A&M team look like over the last couple of years with even just those 3 guys? My point being, I think you'd have turned the corner and had a winning locker room, a winning culture, an expectation level, and they lost it there. In hindsight, that's where they lost it, Chad. Where I was like, man, it wasn't really App State. It was South Carolina, where I was like, and I knew he was going to get one more shot, but that South Carolina game, and maybe Wigman and that game against LSU kind of pulled me back out of it and got me thinking, okay, maybe there's some hope here. But that South Carolina game, they almost beat Alabama the game before, and they had a bye week. So I'm going, okay, they came within literally a yard from beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I know it was Milroe and not Bryce Young, but this team had been playing bad football. I go, okay, that's a lot of heart. That's not an easy thing to do, to go in there and do that. and they get a bye week, and they come out to play South Carolina, guys, and within 5 minutes, 6 minutes, it's 17-0. That was the one for me where I was like, man. And then you had the guys, in the locker room after the game, they got in trouble, vaping, whatever they were doing. That day was kind of, I think, where I was going. I just, and again, the LSU game kind of said, okay, let's see how this works. The one that got him for good, I think, though, was Ole Miss a couple weeks ago. If they're sitting at 5-2 in the SEC right now with a backup quarterback, you think we're having this conversation? There's no way. There's no way. But instead, I think that won. And then they did it, as you guys know how this goes. They did it when they did it because they couldn't afford to have A&M go into Baton Rouge and somehow win a 45-42 game.
Billy, I think the fine margins and all of this is what's so fascinating to me because A&M's roster is stacked. I feel like Texas fans don't have a real appreciation for the true volume of talent that from top to bottom is on the roster. If Wigman's healthy, who even knows if we're having this conversation today about this very thing. I made a tweet on Sunday that I made somewhat tongue-in-cheek because I included all the things I'm about to say. And then I said, it's a 90-minute commute from Austin. But it is a stacked roster that can win right away. Yep. It is in the SEC. It is a school with incredible natural resources. The recruiting, the ground from which A&M is able to recruit from is as deep and talented as any in the country. You got a group of donors who literally just bought out the biggest contract in the history of college sports because they're so thirsty to win and so committed to win that they'll do almost anything short of anything needed. Mm-hmm. It's a really attractive job. So what happens next makes me wonder, do we look at Jimbo Fisher as, is he John Blake? Because he could be the guy that set the thing up and couldn't quite figure it out. But then Bob Stoops shows up and it's like, look how good this team really was right away. Yeah. What comes next, obviously, is really, really interesting. And I think it has the attention of everybody. I know Texas fans, they may not want to admit it, but they are 100% like zoned in on what do the Aggies do here? Because if they do the right thing, the Aggies have a chance to be really good right away, I think.
Yeah, and listen, I'm the same way every time Texas needs to hire a coach, and so are all the Aggies and all the A&M power brokers. And I think it's funny that I'm seeing Longhorns go, man, A&M, part of firing Jimbo had to do with Texas winning the way they did. Of course it does. I don't know to what percentage, but it's not just Texas. It's LSU trending up, although I don't know, Brian Kelly and LSU. I still am not sold on the long-termness of that thing. But, of course, when Texas is trending up, you go, uh-oh. And Texas does the same thing when A&M's doing it. It doesn't force you to make decisions, but it certainly is part of the whole collective, input that you're taking to try to make decisions. There's no doubt about it. And that would have been the case, I think, if Texas is sitting at 7-3 right now, because you're just going, hey, they're coming. OU's coming. They're recruiting well. We better have our crap together. But this job, Ketch, it's a very fascinating hire to me. A&M they do have unlimited money, but they don't, because at some point you're putting yourself in such a financial bind for such a long time. There is I've had people that matter text me, go, I'll pay Lanning's entire buyout tomorrow. People that have that money. But here's the problem. They don't know what that buyout is. Dan Lanning, his buyout is $20 million, right? That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
It's at least twice that. He's got a separate part in there of a buyout, and it involves Nike. And that's even if he wanted to come. Yeah, that's even if he wanted to be the third coach to turn his back on Phil Knight and totally just discarded the opportunity he was like. You can't sit here and say he would come. So my thing is, he's not. My point I was making there is A&M can go as big as they want still, but I don't think that's like the desire. I don't think that's really the course they're charting unless somebody presents themselves as available. And they do have the money to kind of go get whoever. It would just hurt. But if you get that right guy, Ketch, that you're talking about, if they get a guy that can come in and he's got to be dynamic and within 48 hours can convince most of those kids to stay, starting with Wigman, convince most of those kids to stay and fire up the donor base to say, okay, I'm ready to give a lot more to the NIL. And then what that coach could do in a portal, which if you look what A&M did in the portal this year, they did virtually nothing compared to what, I'm looking down the road at what Texas did. I'm looking like what teams in the SEC did. I'm looking at what Florida State did, Oregon. If you could get a guy that could hit the portal hard with a war chest, because people would be fired up, you keep those players, they could be an immediate contender. Because like you said, that talent level, it is elite. It really is. I mean, it is elite across the board. It's elite in the underclasses. Or you could make a great hire of someone that could win a lot of games because they're a great ball coach and they're running a program and they're on the up. And maybe he loses a bunch of those kids early. That would be, that would be a problem. He'd have to recover from that. So it's kind of like, it's going to be fascinating to see which way they go.
Well, and Billy, you're leading right into my next question. The one thought I've had today as well is, can the Aggies afford to be patient in this situation? Because you feel like, Jimbo's his hiring had a pop to it, right?
Yeah.
He's got the resume. And it feels like Ross Bjork is laying out similar stuff, right? Got to be tested, got to have championship pedigree, all that kind of stuff. So for you, does this need to be another one of those things, another one of those kind of names, an Urban Meyer or something like that? Or do you think they can afford to be patient and go with, like, I don't know, if they love the trailer idea or whatever the equivalent of, this is ironic, I'm about to say it, but the equivalent of what Florida State did. They got a guy named Mike Norvell. I had to look up yesterday that it was Memphis he came from. I'd forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they actually have the ability to be that kind of patient with, you mentioned it, with Texas and Oklahoma coming into a stacked SEC next year?
A big key to that would be Elijah Robinson and retaining him. And by the way, there's a lot of people that are kind of going, what about Elijah and doing like what LSU did with Ed O and just, give him all the tools. He would be the guy that would keep the majority of that talent, especially with an exciting OC hire. I'd be interested to see what this offense looks like these next couple games with Bobby Petrino sans Jimbo Fisher. I'm not saying, hey, they're going to go score 50 against LSU, but what if they did? And what if you go, wait a second? So there's some interesting stuff to watch on I think Elijah's the most impressive coach I've ever seen come through A&M before in the very early Kevin Sumlin days. It reminds me of like my first impressions of Kevin Sumlin when he was an assistant under RC and then became the offensive coordinator. But Elijah's incredible, and he's going to be a head coach. He's going to be a head coach soon. Maybe he stays at A&M as DC. Maybe he stays, with some pop, flashy new head coach. I don't think, Chad, that Ross is kind of wired like Scott Woodward was going to go get Jimbo, Brian Kelly, Kim Mulkey. That's Woody. I don't think Ross is wired that way. That doesn't mean he can't or won't, because I also think there's going to be Aggies that say, hey, if this guy's available, we need to make a run at him. But Ross is kind of leading the charge on this. It is going to be his decision, with input, right? But I think he's wired more towards finding, maybe that more Norvell, or I know fans on both sides don't want to hear this, but like the Sumlin or the Herman or give me a name of somebody that's worked out. Because I was about to say Napier at Florida, but you guys know what I'm talking about. There's a million examples over the years of it. Well, hell, Sark. The difference with Sark and like Lane Kiffin is they were head coaches at other places. I don't think there's that coordinator out there this year. I don't think there's that guy that you can say, okay, we can go back to their other body of work and know that they can at least preside over the bigness of this. Like, you don't want a guy that's going to come in here and get overwhelmed. So Traylor intrigues the hell out of me. And the more I talk to people about him, like I hear different things that I like. Like I hear a guy from another school say, dude, we copy much bigger program we copy their evaluations. Like every time they offer a guy, the first thing we do is go watch them. Another guy that I really respect saying, you got to remember all the dude does is win. DeBoer at Washington, they'll look at him. He'll be pretty pricey. He'll be on that high end of what you could do financially. But they compared Traylor and said, look, just like him, the people at Washington were like, Fresno State, all the guy has ever done is win. And there are reasons why. And I think with Traylor, that's the case. Elko's obviously going to get a very hard look. I think Leipold at Kansas will be a guy they look at. You know, he's done so much more with less. So we're talking about two very different extremes, right? And the other thing that he'd never say is Lane Kiffin would love this job. And Ole Miss fans will hate me for saying that. And I'm not saying that Ross Bjork, of all people, would ever hire him. And all Lane has said about A&M. But I'm saying, Ketch, like you said, it is a job that's going to get everyone's attention. Texas A&M is going to have to make the decision of, if we go big, is this guy, you know, really going to be the payoff, you know, or did we get burned by Jimbo and we've lessons learned, or do we go with kind of the Norvell type like you talked about? Yeah.
Billy, I got two questions left, so I'm just going to piece them together. One, simply Urban Meyer, just whatever you think about that. It's hard. I mean, there are Texas fans. I think that's the guy. They're like, holy crap, what would happen if the Aggies did that? And then the other thing is there's a lot of talk on the Texas side that, well, if A&M did it this early, they must know who their guy already is, that they wouldn't have done this without having the person in mind to go get. But I could make a case that there are other reasons why you would want to do it early. Is there, in addition to the urban side of the question, is there a most obvious reason why it happened when it did?
Yeah, I think
at the end of the season.
I think the obvious reason was just timing of everything. I think that there was some change, you know, prior to this season on the Board of Regents. I think there was growing frustration with the on-field production. I think the relationship between football and athletics, you know, they were kind of isolated over there. That was Jimbo's way, and it was frustrating to people. I think that the losses mounting was bigger than anything. It could have stayed the way it did if they were winning. That's just the bottom line. Again, I think the timing of the Ole Miss Tennessee back-to-back, or I guess South Carolina was in between, but the Tennessee game got frustrations going. The way they lost, and it was so ugly, and it was so winnable. So many people went out there and had to come back like, okay, what are we doing? We did this at Miami. And then the Ole Miss game and how those numbers just were mounting, and the way Kiffin really pressed that issue of pushed it all week, like they're doing less with more. And he singled out Jimbo, but it's also like A&M, they're doing, and they've said it about Texas for years. We both fight and we have fun, but we both know this, and all credit to like what Sark knows. I don't care that they're barely winning games against teams I don't care. Like, they're winning games more than anyone in their conference are winning. They're winning games more than they have in a long time. A&M and Texas have both done so much less with more. And everybody around the country watches us all bicker and fight, and they're entertained by it because they're like, what are these guys doing? It's like everyone else is going out collecting championships, and we're over here, and it's fun, but there's a reality to it. It's like, look at these guys in Texas. But I mean,
the hard thing, Chad, is he's talking about us. Like I can hear, like, I hear his words, and I'm embarrassed over here because
I wish I could tell him he's wrong, but I don't think he is.
Going at it, you know, like but it really is though, where you're looking at Texas A&M and you're going, I think those words, that whole narrative that week, and then you go lose, and it's Ole Miss. and they're respectable. There's nothing embarrassing about going and losing final play to the number 11 team in the country on the road. It was one of A&M's better games, in weeks. But it was just that whole thing, and it was in everybody's mind, and it just so happened that there was a Regents meeting the following Thursday, and it had been scheduled for a while. There was a Regents meeting coming up, like, I guess it was 10 days later, and the timing of it, and I said before that Ole Miss game, they better win this game because you could sense a wind shift after Tennessee. But Ketch, the timing of it had to do with that, but also I think that they did not want to put off a decision because I think they decided the argument we're making right now is, do you keep Jimbo for another year? And the hindrance towards making the decision that everybody was afraid of was this financial hit. And when those are the two big arguments for do we keep him versus the body of work and kind of the current trajectory, I think that answers your question. And then so their fear at that point was, again, like I said earlier, look, we can talk all we want about Jaden Daniels and how incredible he is. LSU plays a lot of close games. Because their defense gives up a ton. So, and it's not just against Ole Miss and Bama, it's against much lesser teams too. So even, what do you want to call it, a 5%, 10%, 25%, whatever you want to call it, if they'd have gone into Baton Rouge and won, you'd have had a lot of very vocal, very influential people saying, hey, let's walk this back. So I think the decision makers in that room realized, the ones that wanted it done, realized we better do this now and just not risk it. And also get out in front of this because they were fearing that December 4th portal date and how quickly. So I think you'll see a coach hired in the next, what are we at? We're at Tuesday. I think in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then Billy, in terms of that Urban Meyer question, it almost writes itself. The chances of urban renewal in College Station.
Oh my God. You sound like Olin now. Like, like Olin with his one-liners, and then he I think
that's the first time I've ever inadvertently done an Olin Buchanan impersonation, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to say.
He's wearing now, he started wearing these button-up shirts with an undershirt underneath, like button up here with I started calling him 9021 Olin. That's his that's his new one over here. I think he kind of likes it. But look, I don't think Urban, his name has not come up. You guys know you learn never to say never. I don't think that he would be, I'd be surprised if he entered the serious mix here. I would be surprised. Now, and I'm going to, before the TexAgs people get mad and say, oh, you dropped some news on there, I'm not being specific. I'm going to have a write-up of the guys I would like to see them go after and the legitimate candidates. I did hear that there's at least one kind of pretty big name that they weren't expecting to be in play that has kind of reached out and oh, okay. Now, could that be Urban? I don't think, but I mean, that one's interesting. That's one I'm kind of chasing down as we sit here today. Those things, as y'all know, kind of come and go, and it doesn't materialize into anything. But the person who told me today, I said, okay, I want to chase down and find out who that is specifically, because it was a second person, had no connection to A&M and coaching. Actually, a Big 12 coach kind of had said the same thing to me today. So you put those two together and you start going, all right, I might need to track this down. It's not that they hired him. They do not have a guy. They do not. I think they're at that stage right now, a couple days in, where maybe you're looking at, 10 or 12 guys. And that's what those search firms do. And A&M's got a search firm on retainer, just like most schools do. They don't pick your coach. I mean, I guess they could if you want them to, but they kind of go, okay, we vetted. These guys are not interested. Here's the guys that are. Here are the guys that fit what you're asking for. Here you go. And then you go from there. So if I had to bet money right now, I would say there's a pool of about, 8-10 people that they're legitimately considering, and that'll quickly go down to 4 or 5, if not, and then you have 2 or 3 candidates maybe within the next several days. I know Ross is, conducting interviews as we speak.
Billy, could you make me feel a little bit better and tell me maybe there are 12 candidates?
Oh God,
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Chad, come on now.
I mean, if I said that, that would be like, look at this crazy Aggie.
That would be the ultimate. Yeah, exactly. That would, of course, be the ultimate.
Someone did say something that I do think was funny, and I haven't heard his name come up at all, is Dion, but someone said, could you imagine Dion at yell practice?
Oh,
could you imagine like Dion and Reveille? He's already wears the cowboy hat. I mean, like, all you're really adding is some sunglasses in the but
dude, I've been imagining that commercial in my head. The sunglasses, Dion slides the sunglasses onto Reveille and turns to the camera and said, "Bitch got style," and then it just fades out. I mean, come on.
Oh my God, could you imagine? But no, I would joke about that, but is there more of a fit, like just, hey, that's the Aggies ball coach right there than Trailer. He's got some like RC vibes when you when you hear him talk, and with the background that he has. So we'll see. I mean, I think he'll definitely be on. I think he and Elko will certainly be guys that A&M will take serious looks at, and they will strongly consider those two. But it's pretty wide open still. It hasn't begun to narrow down.
Interesting.
Real quick, Billy, Jay had a super chat. He just wanted to know, is this hire more of a rebuild, or is it immediate with the expectations that the thing is, we've seen like Dave Aranda and TCU last year, so it's hard not to think we want to win in year one.
Yeah. I think that's the really interesting thing is, do you again, it totally depends on the hire. I don't think it's a rebuild. Like it's not a rebuild, but depending on who they hire, it's going to go a long way to how much you lose right off the rip. Because let's be real. Again, like no matter if anyone's trying to deny it or not, and most people don't deny it because they love to say, look at all that talent and Jimbo's not winning with it. A&M can't do anything with all that talent. That recruiting class is sitting at like 500. They love saying that. So they recognize that the vast amount of talent on the roster. So you're going to have poachers and vultures and wolves and everybody coming around, circling around the Bright complex waiting to poach. So if you don't make that strong hire that can keep all those guys right away, your roster will take a hit. And I don't think it's a rebuild per se, but you might in year one, I don't think you're going to expect to go out there and do a TCU or do, go 10-2 year one, 11-1. But if you get the right guy, listen, think about the schedule with the right guy. You get Notre Dame, LSU, and Texas at Kyle Field. You don't play Alabama. You don't play Georgia. Not that they're that great, but you don't play Tennessee. You don't play Oklahoma. I mean, it is your road games are Auburn, Florida, South Carolina in conference. I mean, you get the right guy to keep this roster together, and Connor Wigman's your quarterback, and you have a wide open, explosive offense, and Reuben Owens and Le'Veon Moss are your running backs, and if you get the right guy and you keep an Evan Stewart, and Moose Muhammad's got another year, and they've got Cam Coleman committed. I still think if you make a splash hire, it's going to get Micah Hudson's attention in a big way. So you go that route with it, this team could be pretty dang good from day one. And I think everybody knows that. And I hope like Ross and the decision makers are aware of that, because it doesn't have to, be the reason you make a certain hire, but it's got to be something you consider when you're looking like who can do this day one, because if you can, the thing will roll. Like y'all know this. A&M and Texas can both be great at the same time, even though they never have. especially in 2023, 2024 modern day college football, because it's no longer it used to be, oh, there's not enough in Texas for R.C. Slocum and Mac Brown and Bob Stoops. Who cares? Like, there doesn't have to be. And by the way, every kid from Texas that goes to Utah and Oklahoma State and Ole Miss and Tech and wherever, Baylor, the guys that are really good, you can go get them in a year or two.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So they can both flourish right now, and that's actually the exciting thing. If A&M makes the right hire, we might finally get what the state's been wanting. Aggies might not want it, Longhorns might not want it. You want to be good. If they're really both good, that would be something special. But right now, ball's in A&M's court of like, who do you hire and how quickly can that guy get it right?
Billy, just real quick from me, the folks on the Tex Ags boards right now, I would assume their biggest concern in terms of losing a guy on the roster is Stewart, because there's been rumors about maybe he's going to transfer. Is that the big worry from that perspective? And is there a particular person in the 24 class that you think they're worried about getting flipped?
I think everyone in the 24 class is in play until you make a hire, and you make, that depends entirely on the hire. And Elijah Robinson's doing a tremendous job. Obviously, guys like, Terry Bussey, Dominic McKinley, Cam Coleman, these 5 stars, Draylon Miller, there's still a real chance A&M could get him. So that's going to be higher, contingent on hire. Those are guys you're looking at really closely. Look, again, like I said, you make the right hire, and if Cam Coleman, stays closer to home, Auburn's in the mix there, Florida State's in the mix. What does Micah Hudson think of the next coaching hire? Because he did love a lot about A&M, and he was a regular visitor here. I don't know. You make the right guy. I think the 24 class takes care of itself. As far as the current team, yeah, Evan, but there's a lot of dudes. Evan, Walter Nolan, Connor, I think, is actually the biggest. He's a starting quarterback here. He is got a great NIL situation, but at any quarterback ever in a coaching change, it's going to depend on who's brought in and how that quarter. I mean, that's just, I'm stating the obvious, but it might make some Aggies go, but it's the truth. And I don't think he's got a foot out the door or anything. I think he's just going to sit here and say, I want to know who my coach is going to be. And then we'll see. But I think Connor would be number one. And then, Evan's way up there. But I think every fan base has to start realizing, like, if you lose a guy, it hurts. And what hurts almost more is like the PR, the Twitter, and oh man, do other kids see this, and does it turn into a momentum thing? But the reality is, Evan Stewart's a stud, and he could be A&M's best receiver next year. And in the right system, he could be a first-team All-SEC player. He could be an All-American. But you have to start looking with all these big-name players at every school. Xavier Worthy, right? If Texas would have lost him, and you guys know way more than me how close that was to happening or not happening, if they'd have lost him, I don't know what his NIL situation is, but whatever it is, you might could have gone and got Keon Coleman and a starter at another position that you need. I don't know but I mean, you have to look at it that way moving forward. And that's why whoever gets hired, I really hope they have a keen sense of like this general manager salary cap roster building point of view, because it is the most important thing in college football right now. A&M needs to keep Evan Stewart. He is special in my opinion. But if they lost him or any other individual player, you have to go out and you have an opportunity to get the same or better. Or if you can't get better, get close and then get better at another position alongside of it. That's the way your mind, I think, and that's what I would tell any fan of the Aggies, the Longhorns, anybody. Like if Xavier Worthy left last year, Texas would have been fine. With the right coaching staff there, Texas would have been fine. Any one player. except maybe Kelvin freaking Banks. But
Billy, the older we get, the more you and I seem to think a lot alike.
God damn,
I don't know what that means.
Y'all's message board's going to figure that one out.
Yeah.
I feel like we agree more than we ever have before, and it's scary because it's a lot of the same big talking points.
Yeah, and contrary to what people think, I don't even have an Orange Blood subscription.
Well,
I would love to support y'all. We all go way back, but I can't. It's too distracting. And one time I went on there. Now, it was after our first time we got together with Anwar. And I was like, I want to see what everybody's saying. And it was entertaining. But then I get distracted. And it's like reading about what Texas is doing recruiting, reading the comments, seeing that thread that I didn't even look at it. The one that's got my name in the title. I was like, oh my God, this is hours of my day. This is probably 2-3 days of work to sift through this. So I just I'm going to be just blissfully.
How very disciplined of you.
Yeah, no
Billy,
doubt.
get out of here. You've been with us now for 40 minutes. I know you're going to have like 35 more interviews to do today.
I might be heading to Austin tonight. Actually.
Oh,
there you go.
Going to have
nothing wrong with that. Like I said, it's a 90-minute commute.
I make the commute more often than people think. I've got way too many friends in there. There's no actually Aggies have a game at SMU tonight, so I'll be dialed in. The Aggie basketball is fun to watch right now.
There you go, Billy. We always appreciate the time, man.
Thank you, Billy.
Thanks, guys.
Billy Luchi, TexAgs.com. Some good stuff there, Ketch. That was a lot of Aggie content. We hope the folks wanted it, enjoyed it. I know it was a lot. So, there's
like 600 people in the chat right now.
Hey, working up
that they didn't hate it.
Working up towards 600 is always a good thing in the Specs chat. And like you said, Ketch, it is, we admit that, right? On both sides of the house divided, when one side is going to hire a new football coach, the other side is flat out lying to you if they say, oh, I don't care. Doesn't matter who they get. Like, okay, easy there, Cletus. Well, it matters.
The thing is, I was going to tell Billy this. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. When you look at the rosters, like I've broken them down, you look at the volume of super blue chips that are on each roster across the country. A&M came into this season with the tied for the third best roster in America.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you've got the third best roster in America, getting into the top 4 is no slam dunk, right? Because, the fifth best team could get in, and the margins aren't so huge that something like that can't happen. But next year when the playoff goes to 12, if A&M can keep its roster together, I think it will be a disappointment if they hire a really good coach and they keep Wigman and they keep the nucleus of that team together. They're going to have one of the most talented teams in college football. And I think that it's a little bit of a joke because of the way that Aggies, Billy mentioned it. Oh, that recruiting class, the number 1 class is only kind of 500 right now, but they don't have to be.
Yeah, they're not done yet.
And if we've seen recently with Dykes and Aranda, what can be done in a first year or a second year with the right guy, there's no reason why they shouldn't be, I think, competing to make the playoffs next year. They should be in a position to come out of this if they can keep the roster together in a position to make or compete for a playoff spot right away next year, year 1. And I think it would be a disappointment if they're not at least competing to get into the playoff with what should be one of the best rosters in college football. Both A&M and Texas have a chance to go into next season where the top 5 rosters in college football are Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and A&M and Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those programs should win a lot of games.
Yeah, Billy said it right at the end. It feels necessary to reset it for those of you that don't know. When Billy said both these programs can be good at the same time, even though they've never done it, remember the 2 stats. They've only won 10 games at the same time, one time, ever, 1975. And they have never had back-to-back simultaneous 9-win seasons.
Ever.
It's never happened, including the bowl wins. I'll give you the bowl win, and you still can't find it. Back-to-back 9 or more at the same time. It's never happened. So
it's the crazy of you've turned into my little stat monster because you have them we're getting ready to go into Turnover Tuesday.
Exactly.
You are, as much as I like analytics and stuff, you're my little stat nerd, but that's my favorite. From the moment I first heard it a couple of years ago, I go into every season thinking, can they both get to 9 so that next year they can go for it?
Right. We're not even in a situation right now where it's set up. Aggies
I know.
And then neither of them did it last year. Like, you're like, what is going on? Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So we continue to look for that. And as we cross the 2:00 threshold, we will get into some crap bag. Adam Gorney, is that a yes or a no?
No.
Oh.
Well, I'll check. To be fair, I haven't checked.
No Adam Gorney. All right.
No.
So
here's what's going to happen. Adam's going to see this later today, and he's going to confirm for Wednesday or Thursday.
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the tweet that I had scheduled to go out.
You do that. Hey, do we need to pay any bills in the 2:00 hour?
We do need to, you do need to tell the folks about Mojo Insurance, if we could do that.
Hey, Blake, we'll get to that. Was that our producer, Blake?
Yeah,
thumbs up, thumbs down, Blake. Is that a different Blake? That's not you. Okay. We're going to see Jimbo on the sideline again. He's not done coaching.
Oh yeah, I would expect. I
don't think he is anywhere close to retiring.
I saw a wacky idea pop up on our chat actually yesterday, Ketch, based on his home state. Somebody said, "What about West Virginia?"
There's always the thought that at some point he will end up at West Virginia.
Yeah, that was an interesting idea. I didn't really thought of it.
That could be the North Carolina Mac Brown hire when it's all said and done. The prodigal son comes home, and he could probably coach at West Virginia for a decade and have some success there, and and probably compete for Big 12 championships in a new Big 12 with West Virginia in that new conference. He also, though, he's got big aspirations, so I do think he will coach again.
Yes.
The question will be a little bit like Les Miles. Do we get to a point where he's become too much of a household joke? And I don't know that that's fair, but because of the buyout and because of the bonus of it all, he's kind of a caricature of a guy who's really talented and can build a program at least up to a certain point. Maybe he can't ever truly win at the highest level anymore. We saw it fail at A&M, but he can certainly build the shit out of a roster and leave it for somebody else to come in 5 or 6 years and do the final steps of the dirty work. Let me tell you about Mojo Insurance, right?
Yep.
There's going to be a QR code that Blake's going to put up here in just a second. Right there. Scan that bad boy, and there's a form. And it takes like 30 seconds, and you fill it out, and you just let the guys over at Mojo Insurance find out if they can save you money on your insurance. They shop with over 50 A-rated carriers. You see all the names right up there. Let them find out for you. You don't have to do any work other than like the 30-second form you have to fill out. But you don't have to do anything other than let them find out if they can save you money. And if they can, why wouldn't you? You never know when your school is going to have a coaching buyout, and every little quarter and dollar bill that you can find inside the couch cushions can be the difference between Urban Meyer and Jeff Traylor. I don't know. Made that extreme, but you know what I mean. Mojo Insurance, it's not rocket science. Scan that QR code, go to mojoinsurance.agency, find out if you can save some cash.
Yes, indeed. Lots of cash going on over in Aggie land right now, and we'll continue to talk about that. Texas getting ready for Iowa State. Remember, it's a night kick, 7 o'clock on Saturday night. We will have the watch-along crank up at 6:45. Texas and Iowa State. Come hang out with us if you haven't done it on Orange Bloods Live. Road game, night game. Things could get crazy. Last week I shotgunned a beer at the end. It's great. It's the worst shotgunning of a beer you'll ever see, but at least I tried.
The Aggies called. They want their ring back.
Yeah, no, they did. They trust me. They've asked for that ring a lot over the years, Ketch, and a lot of times it has to do with me trying to drink alcohol in like a gamesmanship way. I'm not good at it.
Did we get the video of that, by the way? Did we ever make like the 58-second miracle that was Chad?
Let's hope not. Let's hope that doesn't exist.
We got to at least get that by the time we get the next game watch along, because there will be an expectation. Like if Texas beats Iowa State, there will absolutely. Jason has a to be named later shotgun because someone paid $50 in the postgame show, and Jason was whining that all I have are glass bottles and blah 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 blah. But he's down. I will never be down.
Okay, so
I've never shotgunned a beer before.
You've never have. Okay, I had not until fairly recently, just a couple years ago. We did it as part of a radio bit, and I actually kind of enjoyed it. wasn't too bad.
I mean, I'll shotgun some hits from Rogue.
Yeah, I just didn't have
what you should have done.
I just honestly, I didn't have the right beer because to me, it's got to be a good light beer. I did not have a good light beer in the house at that moment. What I need to do is go stock up on some Coors Light cans because that to me is the best shotgun beer. I'm a big fan of Coors Light, and I think that would have been the perfect one. So I got to go get me some silver bullets.
Let's do this because in the event that you need to do that, you can go to specsonline.com and just have them drop it off to you. But Blake, while that's on the brain, let's remind everybody of the greatness of Specs and onlineness.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Yeah, you're right. Coors Light, Coors Heavy, whatever you're looking for.
That J. Novacek whiskey.
J. Novacek whiskey, Deep Eddy vodka, whatever you're looking for, Specs has it for you. All right, Ketch. So I'll try to make you, well, I know I'm making me smile because I found the damn number, but for those folks that have made fun of Turnover Tuesday that are Cowboys fans, if I can make fun of the Giants doing it, it's got to be worthwhile. Let's check this week's Turnover Tuesday in the NFL. Week 10. 7-4 was your overall number. And yes, the Giants are there again. What does that mean, Ketch? It means the New York Giants are the only team in the NFL this year that has lost a game while they were +1 in the turnovers. They've done that twice. While they were +2 in the turnovers, they've done that twice. And when they were +3 in the turnovers. Well done, Giants. You are pathetic on 3 different levels. We enjoyed being a part of that this week with 49-17. That's right. The Cowboys actually lost the turnover battle in that game while thrashing the New York Giants. And congratulations to Denver and that team in the gold helmets. They both got +3 or better performances and won games. You're 27-2 if you do that this year. And Ketch, for those Buffalo Bills fans listening right now, it's real simple. If you have 4 turnovers in a game, you're 0-13 this year. And I think I heard like 31 straight games in the NFL you've lost. So this just in, don't turn the ball over 4 times in an NFL game or you will be screwed. So there you go. There's your Turnover Tuesday for the week. But as you saw, we're only at 71% for the year.
It's a depressingly low number.
It's way down from where it's supposed to be, and it just gives you that indicator of it's not quite the strong number it used to be, but 7 out of 10, still pretty good idea to take care of the football. The other thing I was going to mention today, Ketch, crap bag wise.
Hold on.
Yes. Chad plus lots of Rogue and angst equals Luch. That's funny.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that was too funny to ignore.
That's a weird combo, Rogue and angst. That's the combo they're feeling there with Liucci. So a couple things in terms of the Aggie search. Did you hear the Dan Lanning comments?
Yes.
Pretty definitive. Dan Lanning staying in Eugene And as Billy pointed out, I didn't realize there's like an extra layer to a buyout and all that stuff, but he really did have a nice level of smugness. If I was an Oregon fan, I would really enjoy that answer. He is sticking out there.
And they're a Big Ten school. You know
right,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like, they're about to no longer be Pac-12.
Yeah, about to head to the Big Ten. He seems really comfortable there. The Jeff Traylor answer was interesting to me. Jeff Traylor was asked about it in kind of a vague way. He wasn't directly asked, do you have interest? He was asked, there's been interest expressed. How do you deal with that with your team? And I thought, oh, that's a softball way to ask it. And then he cleverly answered by saying, well, that just means we're successful. And that's what I tell the players. And we've dealt with it every year except my first year. But Ketch, they never followed up and said, do you have interest? He never absolutely said no. They never made him say no or yes or whatever. So just something to keep in mind there. But did you see this article about the total money in the Power Five that's owed to fired coaches?
No.
Here's your perspective on the Jimbo number. Since 2022 began.
Okay.
All right. There are 8 Power Five coaches that are owed, dead money, fired coaches. The total, $146 million. Jimbo is $76 million of that. So the former record, so the number now is $76 million. That's what they owe Jimbo. The former record Ketch for the biggest buyout. You know the name?
Oh, God. I heard it, but I forgot it.
$21.7 million, Gus Malzahn at Auburn. Keep that in mind for a second as I tell you that the other 7 guys on that Power 5 list, you put them all together, it doesn't equal the Jimbo number because they're at $70 million together. But Ketch, the guy on top of that list with a $15.5 million buyout is none other than Brian Harsin. Where was the buyout? Auburn. Kind of interesting there that the little brother, if you will, in Alabama has 2 of the bigger buyouts. Clearly A&M, the little brother in Texas, has the biggest one now. Just an interesting note that it's Auburn that has those other 2. I think there's a lesson to be learned there in College Station, and there's a lesson to be learned at Auburn. You need to figure out how to be the little brother without being that version of the little brother, just screaming and yelling and pay attention to us, but you're spending your time not hiring the right guys and just having to pay them.
Ross Bjork's job is on the line, right?
Yes, absolutely, because he said
whoever he hires, if this doesn't work, like the A&Ms and the Texases of the world, they replace their ADs, right?
Absolutely. I would assume that's a yes. You pointed it out and others have too. He's the one that extended the deal. He did that. And now you're saying you learned your lesson, but he's also what he laid out. Like, did you hear his recommendation for what it's got to be? I'm going to read this to you. You tell me, listen to this description. A coach that has a program identity, great interpersonal skills, a track record of player development, a commitment to academics, a recruiting machine, supreme organizational skills, a culture of discipline, passion for the game, a proven winner, strong relationship skills, involved in the community, and of course, knowledge of X's and O's. And someone that understands and also can capitalize on today's modern day college athletics.
So you forgot someone who will return my call.
Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot going on in that comment, but it feels like that's got to be somebody that's got a little bit of a track record. He did not say you have to have a national title. Didn't say that, but how does it, how does it play out? That's what we're obviously interested in seeing. Here's one more number comparison for you, Ketch, just to make sure everybody understands where A&M is on this thing and what they owe. Ketch, Jimbo coached at A&M for 6 seasons, correct?
Yes.
6. Based on the money they owe him and how long they have to pay, they've got to pay him for 8 more football seasons. Just so we all understand that. They got to go through 2031 because of the extension. It was at 10. They could be more than halfway done with it right now if they just stayed put. They owed him 7.5 a year at the beginning. They owed him 75 total at the start. They owe him 76 today. Think about that. That's how much has been added on and extended out. 8 more full
college football's Bobby Bonilla.
He is. Now, by the way, credit to Bobby Bonilla. I think that number still runs to 2035. Bobby, you're still the king, brother.
No, but
the king.
He's the king because he gets $1 million a year.
1.19. Yes, sir.
Jimbo's going to get like 7-8 for the next 8.
He gets 7.2 until 2031. And again, there are no provisions about him getting another deal. He could get a college football coaching job, a TV job, and open a bakery all at the same time. And the Aggies still have to pay him all that money.
He could be an analyst for the Longhorns.
Yes.
Anything he wants to do.
He could be an analyst for Texas, UTSA, and the Bears, and they'd still have to pay him.
Jimbo, if you want to buy orangebloods.com, because he's got the money to buy it, you could do so.
You could.
Do whatever you want to. They still have to pay you.
He could absolutely do that. It's incredible. It is an incredible amount. So for those of you that think being a little, people are a little too harsh on the Aggies, or this is one of those, Ketch, where I've said over the years, Aggies have to learn to deal with those jokes for 2 reasons. One, because a lot of times Aggies wrote the joke to start with. Aggies published those joke books, so they kind of started it. But sometimes they write the jokes themselves. Don't get upset at the joke when you wrote it. And the Aggies literally wrote this joke.
How many Aggies does it take to pay off a
right? I mean, good God. And because here's what it is, Ketch. The thing Texas, the thing that Texas doesn't usually feel, or that Bama or Georgia doesn't feel, is desperate. That's the one thing the Aggies have to avoid. That's the thing Auburn needs to avoid moving forward. That's not what people say about Texas, Bama, the Yankees, Notre Dame. You know what the Yankees feel like to me in baseball? They're just desperate. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're a big-time brand name. They're historic. They've got that feel to it. The Aggies sometimes feel desperate. Will this hire feel desperate? Will it feel badass? Is it both? And Lord help them, what are they going to pay this guy?
Look, I check Thanksgiving literally around the corner.
Yeah.
You're going to the Hatch, right?
No, we will go Thanksgiving Day. We're going to be in the Sugar Land area.
Okay.
Then we're coming back here for a little Thanksgiving on that weekend around the games.
What is your mom and dad doing?
They are going to come see us on Friday.
Okay. Well, everywhere across the state, Aggies will be getting together next week.
Mm-hmm.
Family time. Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Final game of the season.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, the Aggies are looking for a head football coach. There will be Aggie football discussion when the Aggies get together.
Oh, yeah.
If Jimbo was just keeping his job, it might be a whole lot of rabble, but they're going to be taught loose lips. What do you think the Aggie conversation vibe is about the buyout? It's going to get discussed. How will the discussion in most Aggie households sound like when Aggie to Aggie is talking about $72 million, paying it off till, or however big the number is? It's not $72 million, it's $7.2 million.
Right, 76 total.
Right?
Yeah, 76 total, and then that payment is 7.2 when it goes forward.
Is that by any means necessary? Whoop! Or is that kind of embarrassing? Or is it we shouldn't have done it? There has to be limits. What does it sound like?
Yeah, I think it's all of it. I think it's all of that to be realistic. It's like, you're getting, you knew you ultimately had to get out of the marriage. I thought Billy laid it out perfectly about why they ultimately would make that decision. Here's what it's going to cost us. Can we do it is one question. Should we do it is another, the old Jurassic Park thing. But I thought that all laid out interestingly, but I think all those layers are there. For the groups of Aggies that are getting together and they want to talk about all of it, most Aggie groups are just going to get together with who we going to get. That's going to be it. That's layer one. Layer one is, man, who we going to get? Is it this guy? Is it that guy? Urban Meyer? What the heck? That's layer one. Layer two is, good Lord, do we really owe Jimbo all that money? Did you hear that number? I thought that was just some T-ship conspiracy. Apparently, we really owe him that money. I know.
Do we think we can get to third? But we still have time. There's 9 days. Mm-hmm. Can we get to Thanksgiving? And by Thanksgiving, it's like one of the. I don't want to get political. There are certain groups of people that buy crazy theories more likely than others. Like, can we get to Thursday and it's really not that much money.
It's really not.
It's a T-ship conspiracy theory. They control the media, and that's just gossip. That's gossip.
I've heard it's really $2,000. That's what I heard. It's really $2,000. That's what it is.
$2,000 a year till 2027, and that's it.
That's it. But then Ketch, the third layer is what you're talking about there. It's that full discussion of how to learn from. It's what Ross Bjork mentioned, how to learn from the mistake. Admit it's a mistake, first of all. Aggies don't do that real well either. Just admit they were wrong, make a mistake. You think Fonzie has trouble doing it? Good God. Get an Aggie to admit they're wrong about something. That's Aggie involved. If you can admit that, then you move forward into how do you do it effectively this time? What's the best thing to do? And what they need to be asking themselves is that question I'm throwing out ultimately earlier, Ketch. It's the style substance thing. Does it have to be a pop hire? Does it have to be a ta-da? Does it have to have jazz hands with it? Or can you just hire a football coach? Can you just go hire a football coach and say, wait, take a breath? Because right now, people in Tallahassee have folded their arms in a cocky way, like, yep, you didn't think the guy from Memphis was the choice, did you? Seems like he's our guy. 2 straight 10-win years, and they're at 10-0 right now. 5-7 3 years ago. But, man, they feel like they're smoking right now. Can the Aggies afford to be patient and just hire a damn good football coach? That's what I don't know, Ketch, because the Longhorns are coming. They're coming to Kyle Field next year.
I just discovered, ultimately, what the difference between Aggies and Longhorns are.
All right.
Like, really simple and sweet.
I'm going to take a sip. Go ahead.
Aggies don't like to admit that they're wrong. Longhorns like to wallow in the amount of wrongness that they've been. Right? I mean, Texas fans love to still talk about Saban. We could have had Saban, but we wouldn't get rid of Mac. Could have been this, could have been that. And they love to like point at moments where they failed and go, God damn December of 2014. Like they're doing all these things, right? Whereas and Aggies are like, nope, we weren't wrong. Sports gods just didn't do us right. We did the right things. We hadn't made a mistake since the last time we thought we made a mistake.
Oh, that's funny. See, it's a different way to say. I've always said about the fan bases. I've always said A&M fans aren't realistic enough, and Texas fans are sometimes too realistic. That may be a different way to say the same thing, but yeah, I hadn't thought that is a great way to say it. I think you are. I think you're absolutely correct about that.
Ever since, they'll take things that DeLoss said 20 years ago. All the BBs in the box, huh? Ever since you said we got all the BBs in the box, we haven't had BBs in the box. Why did you say it? Mistake number one. Like Texas fans love calling out their mistakes.
Yeah, it is a great analogy, by the way. That's one of my favorite sports analogies ever.
The BBs in the box?
God, it's a good one. It really is. The imagery of that. And then the way Mac would tell it, oh my God. As just a third-party observer, I thought it was brilliant.
Except now the BBs, at times over the course of the last 15 years, the BBs in the box felt like they were being carried by Kevin Malone in The Office. And just write BBs in the box on that big old barrel of chili.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. All right. It is House Divided on this Tuesday. We got a couple super chats here. Ketch, you want to jump on in here?
Yes, sir. Let's have them.
All right, let me grab James here first. Super chat $4.99. It is for you. Ketch, what's the status with Kobe Black? Sorry, what the hell is the status with Kobe Black? I feel it's been silent for weeks in his camp. I've always thought he was a strong Texas lean.
James, he still is considered a strong Texas lean. I think that there are a couple of things in play. One of the top, I don't know that he has a number 2 school. I think the thought was always going to be that Texas A&M was going to be the number 2 school, but I don't think there's any reason to worry about Texas A&M unless they do hire a new coach, and that coach is immediately able to get him in for an official visit. But right now it feels like Texas is number 1. There's not really a number 2 in play here, but I think he's a guy that wants to take his time. If you'll remember his teammate, Jelani McDaniel, he waited until after signing day last year to make his announcement at a bowl game. He signed, and then everybody just kept it quiet. So they like to, at Waco Conley, take their time. The other thing is, and I don't think this is insignificant, and I think it's actually pretty easy to understand. One of the schools recruiting him is Oklahoma State. Now, I don't think anybody thinks he's going to Oklahoma State, but he has a brother that's an active player at Oklahoma State. So over the course of this football season, he's gone to some games at Oklahoma State. And when you're a committed prospect, it gets a little tricky where it's like, hey, I'm committing to Texas, but Saturday I'm going to be in Stillwater. With a brother there or not, it's just easier to be uncommitted and go take some trips. And then at the end, announce where you're going to go. The thing is, when you're elite, when you're a borderline 5-star or high 5-star or whatever, you actually have the leverage to dictate your terms. You announce whatever you want to. And you know what? Every school that's recruiting you will wait. When you're not a 5-star or a borderline 5-star and you're just another guy, they might go out and get a Wardell Mack or do something like that. They may not wait around. They may tell you, we can't wait for you. That's not really the issue with Kobe Black. I wouldn't worry about him not committing. I would acknowledge and understand he just has a lot of leverage.
Ketch, if I was a Texas fan, I'd hope he went and hung out with his brother in Orlando. That'll stop that Oklahoma State stuff real quick.
Probably didn't hurt.
That probably didn't hurt at all.
Probably didn't hurt. Matter of fact, probably wouldn't have hurt if he was at home. It was there in Stillwater for that South Alabama game.
Yeah, that wouldn't
let him just see some of it up close.
James, thank you for that super chat. All right, as we get to this next super chat, we need to do a little super chat education for our man Oscar. Oscar, there is no need to go into this much detail with a super chat. $4.99. My girlfriend hears y'all go on occasionally, and she just can't understand it. Laughing face emojis. I will say she's not the biggest Ketch fan, but don't worry, I got you, Ketch. Okay, see, Oscar, this is unnecessary. This is like the people that used to walk up to us in radio and say, I hated you the first day I heard you, but you're okay now. You didn't need to say the first part. You don't need to put in that. You could have just said, hey, she just doesn't get it, but I love you guys. But no, you had to throw in, she's not the biggest Ketch fan. We didn't need that.
Well, no, here's the thing, Oscar. I can't accept that she's not the biggest Ketch fan. I need to know why. You need to ask. I need to just know what it is.
Okay, see,
what did I do? I'm a sweetheart.
You're leaning into the fan base that loves you the most. You're leaning into your Longhorn fan base there because the Longhorn fan base, they want to know. They want to know it all, right? My people usually don't want to know. We want to just not worry about. We're just keeping it away. You want to know.
Aggies are ostriches and Longhorns are peacocks. I want to know, and I'll be okay with it. But, it'll bug me not knowing. If it turns out, Ketch, she doesn't like the movie Pride and Prejudice, and you said on Twitter last night that you've seen it 700 times. I get it. If it turns out, that I said, I don't know, she doesn't like bald guys. I get it. I just need to know the reason. It'll bug me not knowing. So, Oscar, let me know. why she's not the biggest Ketch fan. Not like she doesn't have to be, but what did I do?
Yeah. Is it specific? Is this something he can work on? Is it something he can workshop?
When I met Chad's friend Sherry the other night, I don't know that she liked me a whole lot upon first meeting. In fact, as I mentioned on the show, I think a week ago, she was like, why would I tell you anything about me? You don't care. You're not going to remember any of this tomorrow. Chad, haven't I gone out of my way? And I'm going to do it again today. How is Sherry? Is she doing okay?
Sherry's doing very well, especially after watching our Cowboys destroy the Giants. She really enjoyed it.
Let her know again that I said hello.
I will.
And that I asked about her.
I definitely will.
And that I hope she has a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's nice. That's a good extra touch. That extra layer. That was nice. Very well done.
Oscar, I'm a sweetheart.
Oscar, let us know. And actually, Ketch, while Oscar is letting us know, I do want to mention you've just given me a perfect segue opportunity since you just mentioned Sherry. Sherry is going to get her first opportunity coming up to go to Hays City Store. She's never been out there. She probably heard Ketch saying the game is over in the first quarter. You know what, Hookem? It could have been. It could have been that. Now, to be fair, Sherry is not a Longhorn fan. So let's be clear about that. So it couldn't have been anything Longhorn related. She's not a Longhorn fan. So that could be a little bit of something.
I'm just taking strays today.
The biggest Ketch fan is Ketch. See, Cotton, there's no need. That's not. And then Oscar, I'm sure didn't mean to start all of that. But at some point in the next couple weeks, we are going to get it set up. Is that a legitimate eye rub or was that a cartoonish I'm crying?
That was a cartoonish I'm crying.
That was very well done. That was good. Should I do like a wah, wah?
I'm like the Eeyore of the show. I'm like a combination of Eeyore and Snuffleupagus. Okay, Chad. Or was it time to play Blinko yet? People are shooting strays at me.
I blink very slow, bird. Yeah. Hays City Store. There's your QR code. We're going to get Sherry out to Hays City Store pretty soon. It is a fantastic place to go eat, drink, have a great time. Whatever drink you're into, they've got an incredible version of it. Whatever food you're into, they've got an incredible version of it, from the chicken fried steak to those enchiladas to the burgers to the pizza. And then the dessert I can't wait to go grab is that bourbon milkshake. It's incredible. The Berry's Heaven is awesome. And if you're into key lime pie, go try the Hays City Store key lime pie and tell me how many pieces you've had that are better than that one. It may not be the absolute best piece of key lime pie you've ever had, like it is for me, but I'll bet you'll think of that piece if it's not the piece at Hays City Store. They're out in Driftwood on FM 150. Check them out, Hays City Store. Oscar, here we go. She just thinks Ketch can be a smartass. Not in a bad way, but I have your back, Ketch. Sometimes you gotta be. Oh, well, if that's it, I mean, there's nothing we can do about that one.
I was going to say, I can't help that.
Right. She just hates it when Chad talks numbers. Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Ketch, she likes you except for the part when you breathe. Here's what it is, Oscar. What can I do to bribe your girlfriend? What can I do that by Thanksgiving, 9 days from now, I'm her favorite part of the show? Do I need to send some cranberry sauce over for Thanksgiving? Some pumpkin pie? Do I need to treat you guys to dinner? What can old Uncle Ketch do to bribe her?
That's nice.
So that the next time you say, I love the show, but my girlfriend really loves the show and Ketch makes her laugh so much, right, let me know.
That's it. Because, see, Ketch, the thing is, I can't remember if I told you, but by the end of the Pint House get-together the other night, Sherry turns to me and she says, I think I'm kind of liking this Jeff Ketchum guy. And I said, well, of course you are. He's a likable guy.
I'm charismatic when I want to be.
I'm like, what? Do you see? You think I'd have been hanging out with this person? You think I'd have done a show with him all those years and then wanted to do something with him after that? You think I would have just done that? I mean, the fact that he offered to pay me is a big deal. Yes.
He broke my heart with the, why would I tell you anything about me? You won't remember me tomorrow.
See, that one's tough. That one's one you're never going to forget. You and I both have that where it's like, yeah, you know, if you say stuff like that to us, we'll remember it. You're going to have to overcome that. I feel like she did that.
I told her that night, do you know what, Sherry? You have made a monstrous mistake because I will now ask Chad how you're doing for every week for the rest of your life.
Yeah. It's a weird reason to be belligerent about stuff, but hey, whatever works. Whatever works. I'm glad you're going to pay attention now.
To a fault.
Yeah, I like it. Damn it, we're going to be friends now.
Exactly.
That's going to be awesome.
All right.
So real quick before if you want to get into something else before we are done.
Oscar.
Ooh.
Hey.
This sounds like my kind of girl right here. Cream corn? I'm in.
Me. Here's what we're going to do.
Come on.
Oscar, shoot me an email. My email, I'm going to type it in right here. You're going to send me an email. And nobody else send me an email pretending that you're Oscar.
Oh, yeah, that'll work.
Email me. I'll get the cream corn hooked up for Thanksgiving. Whatever her favorite cream corn is. I will buy. Yeah. I'll get it taken care of. And on Thanksgiving, when she's like, God damn, that's the best cream corn I've ever had in my life. Who made it? How do we get it? Whose idea was this? I want you to turn around and just be like, Jeff Ketchum wanted you to know that he cares.
And then Jeff's going to come on the next show like Randy Orton, just like, that's me. That's me.
Oh, keep it low. I'll be low key about it.
Of course. That's awesome, Oscar. Sounds like you got a good girl there if she's into cream corn. The Hay City store jalapeno cream corn. That's what I had the other day with that pork chop.
What if I got Hay City?
So good.
I'll if I pay for it and I get it taken care of, we can get some Hay City cream corn sent to Oscar.
I mean, I guess.
And look, if we'll get that as like the primo. And if it's like, oh, she doesn't like that because it's too fancy. I don't know. Then we'll get like some Bush's cream corn or something as a backup.
Yeah, trust me. It ain't too fancy. It's just fantastic. You'll be fine. Okay.
I'm telling you, Oscar, email me and text guy too. See?
Oscar's girlfriend sounds smart. Text guy, that's just about the cream corn. Yes, I agree. The Ketch thing, maybe not so much.
All right. Again, I'm ready for Blinko, but you know, I don't know.
Yeah,
we're done with super chats.
That's true. We are done. We are done with super chats. All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's do a little Blinko. You want to play a round of Blinko for the kids?
I'll go with Blinko.
Who's first? You or me? You want to blink first?
I will go Blinko first.
Okay.
Give me just a second. I had some stats for the very first Blinko. I just had some. All right, I'm ready. So let me look at my clock. 3, 2, 1. Let's Blinko. I don't know that everybody realized how good T'Vondre Sweat really is, but I started doing some rankings this week. I've got Casey Hampton 1, Sean Rogers 2, if we're talking about defensive tackles since 2000. And then I've got Malcolm Brown, Lamar Houston, and T'Vondre Sweat 3, 4, and 5. But I think you can put those guys in pretty much any order, which to me really says a lot about how much T'Vondre Sweat has grown this season.
Man, T'Vondre is so much fun to watch. I love that you're talking about the defensive tackle position. Thanks to Brian Jones. It's one of my favorites over the years. He's been awesome. What we need to see this week is that awesomeness continue through that third and fourth quarter. Defensive tackles start really well, but it almost feels like when that defense backs off a little bit, they do too. It's not fans bitch about the DBs backing off, but Ketch, I also feel like that defensive line will kind of go away at times. They need to stay active, stay into it for Texas to get that win. long as we're talking Texas, let me talk Texas and the CFP and tonight. Texas fans, I'm going to prepare you for it right now. There's an argument to be made to slide Alabama up, put Oregon in the middle as a spacer, and then leave you underneath. Don't lose your mind. Now, you do need to go to orangebloods.com and flip out on the message boards. Obviously, that's what you need to do. But you're going to need to breathe. It could happen tonight because they're going to use eye test. You can't be too old school. It's a pageant.
I mean, it's the thing that I've talked about with Texas fans for the last couple of weeks. At some point, sorry, I had to wait for the green light there. At some point, you got to play good football all the time. And you got to play good football recent. And the Longhorns haven't played great football recently. And they've put themselves into a position where they may be involved in arguments that aren't fair, but it's not fair friends. It's fair business or unfair business, or maybe not business at all, but just something unfair. I'm not sure. I want to go back real quick. 3, 2, 1, go. Just in case any of you ever want to put other defensive tackles into the same namespace as Casey Hampton and Sean Rogers, let me just let you know about Casey Hampton's resume. 2-time All-American, former Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, led the team in tackles twice, and in his career recorded 329 tackles, 54 tackles for loss, 9.5 sacks, 56 quarterback pressures, 9 caused fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries.
That's silly. That is absolutely stupid. Ketch, I've always contended that I think Casey Hampton would be, Mac Brown wouldn't have recruited him, correct? But he obviously coached him.
Correct. That's a Makovic recruit.
Is it a correct argument to say, stem to stern, end of NFL career included, he's the greatest player Mac Brown has ever coached? Everything included. Full resume.
It might be him, Derek Johnson, and Vince Young. Those would be the 3. I think the right space, and put me on yellow. Freeze me on yellow. Or freeze chat on yellow. I can't remember who's next.
No, it's me.
Okay, freeze chat on yellow.
Finish off.
I think you can say Casey Hampton's one of the 5 to 10 best Texas football Longhorn players of all time. And I don't think he gets that credit.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to the NFL here. If you guys watched last night, it was a mess with Buffalo. Today, they fired the OC, Ken Dorsey. Do you know who takes over? Joe Brady. Remember that name? Joe Brady, the guy that called the plays and was helping out, not called the plays, the guy that was helping out at LSU. Then he got the gig with Rule at Carolina, and then Rule kind of made him the scapegoat and fired him. Can he be great? Can he be a badass play caller? He's about to try to figure out a 5-5 Buffalo team with Josh Allen.
The crazy thing, Chad, see that time I waited for the stoplight to turn. The Buffalo Bills are like in the top 3 of every major offensive category that exists. They're really good on offense, and the OC just lost their job because the team can't stop being a circus, because the quarterback turns the ball over as much as he does all of the other good stuff. I don't know how you blame the OC for that, but I guess it just happened. Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. Red. Give me that red light. Yellow, I'm almost ready. Green means go. I just distracted myself from the thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, I remember. Washington, Oregon, all of those teams in the Pac-12 that are going to the Big Ten, you guys can't get there fast enough. My God, I hate watching Big Ten football so much. And that Penn State-Michigan game was so hard on the eyes. I don't even know if I want to deal with Ohio State and Michigan. Give me more Washington and Oregon State. I like that football more than I like the other football.
Ketch, here's how Big Ten the Big Ten is. At the end of that Iowa game, it was 22-0. Kirk Ferentz decided that 29-0 was just too much for Iowa fans and Rutgers fans to deal with. We can't hang 29 on them. That's crazy football. Let's down it. Let's do the right thing. Let's go to midfield and shake hands and wave at the kids in the hospital. The kids at the hospital need more points. Bring it.
Every time a team scores a touchdown, an angel gets his wings.
It's terrible. All right, let's have a real conversation, Cowboys fans. I think it might be time with LVE. It's official now. He's out for the season. Leighton Vander Esch is out with a neck injury. I think we're beyond the football part of this. It's to the life part of this. All those injuries accumulated. I know he's 27 years old, but damn it, that's a different 27. I want Leighton Vander Esch to be able to get out of bed and deal with life in a couple years. LVE, I think it's over.
Hold on. See if you guys can hear it.
We have a sound effect? I'm not hearing anything. Just dazzling. What are we? No.
Can you hear it?
No.
I have it playing as loud as it'll go on my. It's taps.
I'm sorry.
Playing taps.
Oh, you're playing taps. Taps. Okay. I'm
playing taps for LVE's career in Dallas. That's it. That's all I got. I don't even need 30 seconds. I was playing what I thought was 30 seconds of taps. I don't even know where the goddamn speakers are on the computer.
Oh, my God. Go ahead.
All right. I watched a movie on Netflix last night, The Killer, with Michael Fassbender, a.k.a. the guy that came to DKR with Natalie Portman the night she wore that leather and looked all fine and hot. It's a really, really, really good movie about, wait for it, a killer. But it's got all of the pieces of a David Fincher movie. And I hope you know who David Fincher is. If you don't, Wikipedia him. But it's a killer movie made by the Finch man.
All right, Ketch, let's go movie for movie. Today is Patrick Warburton's birthday. That's Putty from Seinfeld. He's 59 years old. Have you ever seen The Emperor's New Groove?
Yes.
For those that haven't, it is a 2000 animated Disney movie. It's a little bit in the weeds for some. I hadn't seen it till a few years ago. My daughter introduced me to it, and it's awesome. David Spade, John Goodman, Wendy Malik, and others are voices. It is an underrated, badass Disney movie. Go watch it with your kids.
Wow, so you didn't respond to my movie. You just went in a completely different direction and talked about what you want to. Nice play.
Damn right. Blinko gonna Blinko. In fact, let's talk some Aggies here. The patience for the Aggies continues to be one of my focuses here. Can they be patient and just make the right hire? I don't know. We're going to find out because Aggies do get into not only their own feelings, but they get into the mirror and how it reflects back. Now we're in the SEC. Well, what does that mean? Well, Texas is coming. Oklahoma's coming. What does that mean? Just make the right hire. Find some substance now.
It's kind of as simple as that. Sorry, I had a Facebook Messenger, and then I thought the phone was ringing again. By the way, wasn't it weird? The phone rang like 5 times in 13 minutes, and then it hasn't rang the rest of the day. Chad, you're right. The Aggies are close. The Aggies are closer than the last 2 years would give you credit for. Hire the right coach, let him do his job, and the Aggies will be just fine. But get somebody good. And finally, I'll wait. My final Blinko thought for the day. The dogs have been a little quiet today. Someone mentioned earlier today in my Orange Bloods DMs that I need to get bark collars for all 3, which isn't a terrible idea because once upon a time I put a bark collar on my Weimaraner and it mostly worked, although sometimes she did spike bark. I just don't know that Mama Ketchum's going to let me put the collars on her angels.
It is a tough thing when you're trying to figure out how to discipline the dog and like electricity is involved. Do you go electric fence or is there another way to do it? Do you go electric shock collar or is there another way? Back in the day, we tried one of those on a dachshund, but it was so big what hung on the ground. Like she was dragging it around, looking at me like, you dumbass, what are we doing here? I don't want to bark, but I can barely move. Like it is tough to know what to do when you're trying to discipline the dogs. Do you just use a little clicker? Some people do. I think it just means we don't know how to train our dogs, Ketch, but we don't want to admit that.
I'm a bad dog owner. No, there's no more clocks. That's it. That's how we play Blinko, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like
I have one more, but that's all right.
Oh, by all means, go then. I didn't know you had one more.
Just a quick reminder for Texas fans that John Haycock, the guy that invented this whole 3-3-5 problem for Sark, he's the guy he's facing on Saturday night with the running back he actually wants healthy and the quarterback he actually wants seemingly healthy. It's a big night for Sark. Huge Saturday night for Steve Sarkisian because in a way, this should be the exact matchup he's been dreaming of with the 3-3-5. That's it. That's all.
That's it. So I don't get to respond to your last one.
Hey, I mean, theoretically, you do. How do we count out? Who went first? You did, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you get 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, and I get 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. That was 10. You respond to 10.
But you respond to each of my deals, and I only respond to 4 of yours.
No. You get to everything. You respond to everything.
I didn't get to respond to that last comment.
I know. That's what I'm telling you to do right now.
Well, there's no clock.
Well, then Blake will give you the clock.
And Blake's just, I don't even remember what you just said.
Haycock, 3-3-5.
Oh, yeah. No, this will be good. I just need to remind, go ahead, hit the clock. It's okay. I just need to remind people, this is a big game for Iowa State. They're tied for second in the conference. And if they win on Saturday night, they're maybe playing their way into the Big 12 championship game more so than Texas. There's a lot on the line in this game. It will be one of the first times all season where the stakes aren't one-sided.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's got a lot of intrigue to this one. It's going to be fun Saturday night. Let's see if the Longhorns can get to 10 wins. Steve Sarkisian as a head coach. He hadn't gotten to 9, had he? I know he hadn't gotten to 10. I don't think he hadn't been a 10-win coach, has he? As a head coach?
No.
First time, first opportunity to do it. All right, Ketch, what else we got before we get out of here?
Well, I put the taps at the JFK funeral on. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm just trying to get some horn play. What we need. What the hell? Someone play the horn.
Yeah, I'm not hearing it.
What? Where is it coming out in the audio on my computer?
I'm hearing it a little bit. Watching you try to deal with this is fascinating.
Anyway, I was playing taps.
And now because you're playing taps, we can hear you even less.
Fuck it. This might be why Oscar's girlfriend doesn't like me.
I think every show should end with Ketch saying, fuck it. That is fantastic. All right. Football with Friends is coming up with Alex Dunlap. We'll be back tomorrow with a Wednesday show. Thanks to Blake, the super producer, for all his work. Thanks to all of you in the Specs chat today. Until 12 noon tomorrow, we are house divided. LVE, we love you. Take care of your neck.
The dogs are in.